Very good morning to all of you. Today is the day 13 of 4-week technology-based entrepreneurship development program that is focused on entrepreneurship. We are covering module 5, that is business plan preparation. In this module, we have 3 keynote speakers. Mr. Rangaraj Ravindran, Dr. Bhawana Rawat, Dr. Nupur Mishra ma'am. Let me introduce our speaker first. Mr. Ravindran sir is a senior corporate executive with 35-year experience in the automotive and light engineering industry. He has held leadership positions in various leading organizations across India and the Gulf, like the Suhail Bhawan Group, Muscat, and is currently CEO with the DST group of companies. He is a mechanical engineer from RV College of Engineering, Bangalore. During his long stint with the Murugappa Group, he was identified as a potential business leader and handpicked for the exclusive business leadership program conducted by the group in collaborative with IIM Bangalore. He has earned his MBA, specialization in business strategy from the Milton Keynes University, UK, and he is also certified lead assessor by the CII for their CII Exim Business Excellence Award. Sir is a thought leader in the automotive components and automotive retail business and has rich experience, has knowledge and expertise in business operation, industrial sales and marketing, supply chain management, product development, process implementation, corporate social responsibility, and corporate governance. He is passionate about the environment protection and is currently pursuing a course on sustainability and climate risk from the Global Association of Risk Professionals. He is a keynote speaker. He also speaks more than 7 languages and he loves traveling. He has traveled over 28 countries. He is an amateur photographer and has also recently published a book, Runs in the Family Management Lesson from the Home. So, sir has a vast experience and we are very grateful to have you as a keynote speaker, sir. So, we are inviting you to deliver your keynote talk. So, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Gaurav. Good morning and namaskar to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Gaurav and all the other PIs and organizers of this technology-based entrepreneurship development program, or the TEDP, as you call it, for inviting me as a keynote speaker. Despite all what Dr. Gaurav has told about me, I'm actually very humbled to sit here amongst this august gathering of so many professors who are all doctorates in their various domains and fields. I'm not a doctorate and I'm not in the biomedical field at all. In fact, I am an automobile professional and a corporate citizen.
Of corporate leader, sir, because yes, under you, several doctorate can work.
I don't know about that, but
you can build several doctorate to and mentor to a startup journey.
Yes, and that is why I accepted the invitation, because as you told me that many of the participants will be your students who are youngsters.
Yes,
and at my age, I like to work with youngsters, who come with so many nice and innovative ideas. In fact, unfortunately, your program schedule, is all on the work days and working hours. So I couldn't, attend all the programs, but I managed to peep in into a few of the programs. And I was really impressed by some of the presentations, especially the one on the innovation by the youngsters. Some youngsters had presented their innovative products which they had developed, and they were looking for some advice and startup support. More importantly, I was really happy to see that most of these boys and girls are not all from the big cities like Bombay and Calcutta, but from smaller cities. And in fact, there was even one boy from Jammu who made a presentation on some very innovative product that he had developed. I'm happy to see that India is actually growing beyond the big cities. And that is the real true India. As Gandhiji said, India lies in the villages. And I'm happy to see the kind of progress that we have made in the last 70 years, 75 years after independence, that every nook and corner of India is now well connected with internet, roads and facilities, and many of the youngsters are now keen on developing their own villages and cities instead of just coming to the metros and working for some corporate. So this entrepreneurship spirit is what needs to be encouraged. And here I would like to express my admiration for Galgotias University, the sponsors and the founders and patrons who have given this opportunity, through this very wonderful idea of this innovation cell, which you have in your university, which provides a platform for the youngsters to incubate their, startup ideas, creative and very innovative startup ideas, and build it into a potential startup for the future. I'm very happy to be associated with Galgotias Universities on this platform. And once again, thank you very much for inviting me to be a keynote speaker. Especially I'm overwhelmed with the kind of senior level knowledge that is available in your technical and scientific chairs. Some of the names and qualifications I've seen. I hope whatever I present will be useful to those who are participating here. I'm not a lecturer, so I don't have a professorial kind of teaching ability, and I'm not here to teach. I'm just here to share my knowledge and experience in these two very critical elements of any business, and particularly for startup, which is basically product costing and cost consciousness. So I'd like to start by sharing my screen. Dr. Gaurav, you might have to help me.
Yes, sir, you can share, sir.
Yeah. So are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we were talking of product costing and cost consciousness. Since they are two, although they're interrelated, but they are two different topics, my presentation is split into two parts. First, we will talk about product costing. And before I go further, like I said, since I'm not a professor, I would like this session to be more interactive, because I'll be just talking and sharing my knowledge of what I have gained in these two domains as a product manager earlier when I was much younger, and the last 7-8 years as a business head, as a CEO. So what cost consciousness means to a business and why it is so important. So please feel free to ask your questions, interrupt me whenever you want. Only to make the session smooth, maybe your questions can be through by either raising your hand, or you can put it in the Google chat, and Dr. Gaurav will
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and...
Sir, all the participant has access to unmute themselves.
Yeah.
They can also switch on their camera.
Oh,
so
great.
it depends on the participant. They want to switch on their camera or unmute themselves or not. So we have granted the access.
Yeah.
To all
That's
the parties.
nice.
Yes.
That's nice. So, my dear friends, so please feel free to ask or interrupt me anytime during my presentation. I'd be most welcome and happy to answer your queries to the best of my abilities.
Yes, sir. And our participant belongs from the various backgrounds, sir.
Okay.
That includes faculty member, UG, PG, PhD student also, and they are very interactive, sir.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah, I saw in some of the sessions, even yesterday, Mr. Vivek's session on working capital.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, you are there, sir.
Yes, I was there because he and I, we are part of another group. So he had sent me the invitation link, and so I said I will.
It was a very beautiful session, sir.
Yes, yes. So he's a finance person, so so his presentation was very deep and very comprehensive. I'm not a finance person. And at the same time, since this is a university related interaction, I have kept my presentation very simple, and whatever I'm explaining is the very basics. It is not the high end, the PhD level of these topics. It's very basics, which I felt, from a practical point of view.
It is needed, sir. Actually, the main goal of this TDP is to learn the participant about the basics of entrepreneurship, as well as whatever the things required to start one venture or start their company. So this all program has 7 modules, and each module can learn the participant about to their startups, so all related to their startups. So this will be better, sir, if you have taken some basic concept. So it will be very good, sir.
Yeah, so thank you. That relieves me, because I was wondering, with so many doctorates and senior people around, whether my presentation will seem to be too simple. But the idea was to make it simple, so that, like you rightly said, just to get the idea of these two topics to the youngsters. So when we talk of product costing, what comes to mind, first of all, in your minds? Can I have some inputs? What do you mean by product costing?
So it should be accessible for every person's.
No, when you talk of product costing, what comes to mind? What is product costing, or why is product costing important?
So costing is important, but at the same time, we have to think about the accessibility by the consumer. Either it will be easy to or cover the maximum portion of the consumer. If it is too costly, it will be for higher peoples.
Yes.
And if it is in mid, so it will be like not accessible for the poor people. So
correct.
That is
correct.
only it's my way of the thinking.
Yes, that is definitely a good point what you've raised, Dr. Hanumat, but I'll come back to you on specific. If there's anybody else who wants to say something, otherwise then I can proceed.
Yeah. Manufacturing cost.
Yes, Vinit, correct. So what do you mean by manufacturing cost? What is your understanding?
Like, what are the materials used in the processing of formulation of that product? So the
Very
cost
good.
of that.
Very
and
good.
labor.
Very good. Absolutely correct. Most people, use the word pricing and costing, in very loosely and interchangeably. Do you think product costing and pricing are the same?
No. Costing would be like our production cost, and pricing would be like we add our profit and margin on that, so we can price that for including our like other benefits of profit also. So
Right, absolutely right. So costing is right. You rightly said, it is all the manufacturing cost of a particular product, and product pricing, when you say, it is actually the selling. So if you look at the basic difference between pricing and costing, pricing, like you said, and like what Dr. Hanumat also said, it is the amount that the customer is willing to pay for your product. So that is known as the product pricing. It's the price. And costing, like Vinit, like you rightly said, is all the expenses that is incurred in manufacturing a particular product or even in delivering a particular service. So you have the raw materials, this cost, that cost. We will come to that in the subsequent slides. So all that put together becomes the cost of a particular product. And that is exactly the difference between costing and pricing. I wanted to show this slide because many people, confuse. They use the word product costing and product pricing, interchangeably. They are two different entities altogether. And I'm not talking just from a finance point of view, from a business point of view also, and from a layman point of view also. This needs to be understood that cost is different from price. And obviously, like you said, since pricing is the selling point, it will be higher since it includes the margin and the profits compared to the cost. So it is cost plus the profits and margins is your price. If you look at a technical definition of what product costing is, it refers to the total cost involved in making a product. And I've underlined and here because there are two parts to a particular product cost. One is the manufacturing. Then again, you can't just manufacture and keep it in your factory. You have to sell it. So the seller also buys this product from the manufacturer, and for him, his product cost is different from the product cost for a manufacturer. And in today's slide, I will explain more on what is product cost from a manufacturing point of view, as well as from a retailer, that's a seller point of view. Because finally, whatever we produce or innovate or create, or whatever service we provide, unless somebody buys it, that is, you're able to sell it, the product has no meaning. So which is why, so when you looked at product costing, though it is essentially a manufacturing kind of a definition or a terminology, I have tried to extend it to even the retail field for defining what is product costing from a retailer perspective. And so just to define once again, what is product costing? It is the total cost involved in manufacturing a product, and also the cost involved in getting it ready for sale. What do you mean by that? We'll come in the subsequent slides. So the first part, that is making the product, comes under manufacturing, or the business of manufacturing, and getting it ready for sale is all the steps involved in retailing. You've heard of the terms manufacturing and retail. These are two strong business entities required for any business. You manufacture and then you have to retail it. And each of them have costs, each of them have margins, each of them are profit driven. Any business is profit driven. Without profits, there is no business. Then it is only charity, as you know. Coming to the constituents of product costing, what are the elements in product costing? Can somebody tell from whatever they know? When you talk of product costing, it is not just one element. There are a few elements involved when you talk of manufacturing cost. What are those elements?
Raw materials, sir.
Correct.
Then your accessory instrumentation, quality control.
Yes.
And, that is basically comes under the manufacturing only.
Yeah.
And marketing process is different actually.
Yeah.
That might be, I think, in retailing, I think that will become as a marketing, correct?
Yes.
We can say like a finished good, that everything from the starting to end comes under the manufacturing.
Yeah. So what are the elements when you look at it from a business plan perspective, or an accounting perspective? What are the headings? That's where when you say product cost, what does it? What are the three main elements? You rightly put it, but I'm just trying to bracket it into some headings.
I think triple M, that is the man, material, and
absolutely right. Absolutely right. I have tried to make it a little more simpler by saying these are the three main costs: the material cost, the labor cost, and the overheads. If you understand this concept, you will understand everything about manufacturing cost. Then, of course, there are very finer details which we can go into later on. But broadly, when you talk of manufacturing cost, it's the cost of material, it's the cost of labor, and it's the cost of the overheads. We'll go into each of these one by one. As I said, that was for manufacturing. And for retailing, what are the elements of product cost? Manufacturing, yes, of course, there's a raw material and there's a labor and there's overheads. From a retailer perspective, what do you think would be his product cost?
It's, in the market chain, sir. Market chain from the distributor to up to the retailer.
Yes.
That will be the.
What else?
Transportation, warehouse.
Absolutely correct. And Pranav has written supply chain. Yes, that's a very broad term. Getting into actual details, if you look at what does retail involve. So when you look at product costing from a retail perspective, it's the cost involved in expenses related to a supplier. Pranav had used the word supply chain. So in the supply chain, a supplier has got various cost elements. And here also I have added a plus, any cost involved in stocking a product. Somebody just mentioned about storage. So go down and warehouse, that's also a cost, not for the manufacturer, it's a cost for the retailer. Because when he's buying the product from the manufacturer, he has to have a place to keep it. He cannot keep everything in a showroom where he's displaying. The shop would be around a small place. So he would have a go down or a warehouse. So stocking the product is another cost for him. And of course, all the costs that are involved in selling the product, which we'll come to later on as we explain the details. So from a retail perspective, these costs or the product cost is also known as distribution cost. That's another term that is used in business parlance from a retailer perspective. For a manufacturer, it is manufacturing cost. For a retailer, it is known as distribution costs. What are the elements of distribution cost? If you see, some of the points raised here have been incorporated here. So you have the product handling cost. When you say handling, it is the movement of material from, say, the truck to the shop, from the factory onto the truck. The handling, you use, depending on the size and weight of the equipment, you would use a forklift, or you use a crane, or you just use manual labor. That handling cost. The freight cost, how much it costs for the truck to move from the factory to the godown, and from the godown again to the shop of the retailer. Advertisement costs, direct selling costs, and the managerial personnel cost. When you say managerial personnel cost here, it is the cost of the salesperson, the showroom manager, the cashier, even the cost of the driver, the cleaner, depending on the industry that you're in. What is the kind of retail business that you're in? These are all the elements of cost that goes into product cost or distribution cost from a retailer perspective. Any questions so far? Any doubts? Any clarifications anybody wants? Or can I go ahead? Okay, thank you. So we'll go to the next slide. So we looked at the overall elements of cost or the constituents of cost. In business language, we also assign these costs into various categories. What are these categories? I'm using these terms so that you get familiar with these terms, which is normally used in every business. We use the term direct cost and indirect cost. Now here again, between manufacturing and retail, the elements of direct and indirect costs are different, and I've defined them here in detail. From a as I said earlier, if you recollect the previous slide, the various elements of cost are the material, the labor, and the overheads. These are then redistributed as direct and indirect. Now, what do you mean by direct and indirect? The very English words direct and indirect means which are directly involved in the manufacturing of a product, and those which are indirectly involved. If you look at the material costs which are directly involved, now let us take an example of, say, a chair, an office chair. Now, what are the elements that go into direct material for the chair? You can take either a wooden chair or your regular, PUF chair, which you see in the office or in your colleges. What do you see? Let's take a wooden chair, for example. Anybody?
Foam mattress.
Yes, foam. Wood. Yes, Dr. Shweta, correctly you said. So all the raw materials that you have seen that are really visible, or you have a touch and feel in the product, come under direct raw materials. So you have the wood, you have the cloth, you have the foam or the rubber, then you have some plastic elements, you may have a spring. If it is an office chair, you will have the wheels. So these all get constituted as direct material costs because they are directly involved in making in the look and finish of the final product. Similarly, what are the direct labor? Direct labor is the cost of labor involved in making the product. So who's the one who's making the product in a factory? You will find the technician, the shop floor worker, the carpenter. These are the people who are actually working on making that particular product. So their cost is considered as direct labor cost. And in any business or factory, it is not just the wages that we pay. We even pay the insurance for them, the other benefits as an employee, canteen, uniform, all these costs go into direct labor costs. So direct labor is the cost involved in spending money on labor for who are involved in the direct manufacture, actual manufacture, whose hands are touching the end product. So the technicians and machine operators. Then what do we mean by indirect material and labor? Now, when we look at the chair, obviously a chair has been made from wood, which is the direct raw material, but the raw material has to be converted. So how do you convert it? You would use a chisel, you would use a saw, you would use a hammer, and then finally to assemble it, you would have used nails, you would have used gum, glue, so many other things, which is not visible in the chair finally, but they are necessary to make the chair. So the cost of those items are categorized under indirect material cost. Similarly, in any business, apart from the workers who's making the particular product, you also have the supervisor, you will have the manager, you will have the directors, you will have the cashier, you'll have the accounts person, you'll have the HR person. They are not directly involved in making the product, but they are also a cost. These costs all come under indirect costs of labor. This is the categories of cost. When you categorize them, an accounts person, when he's giving the details of cost and preparing the details of product cost, he categorizes under these headings of direct and indirect costs. Understood? Is there any query or clarification on this? Good. Similarly, from a retail perspective, as I said, because of manufacturing and retail are two different elements. From a retail perspective, the categories of these costs are categorized as supply cost, direct labor cost, and overhead costs. In the supply cost, we take into account all the purchases, the price that has been paid for purchasing the particular SKU. SKU means standard storekeeping unit, stock keeping unit, which is basically any element, one chair or one car or a pen. Each item is known as an SKU, which the retailer is planning to sell. Each SKU, he buys it. Since he's a retailer, he's not manufacturing it, he's buying it from the manufacturer. So there's a cost of buying it or purchasing it. Those are known as supply costs. Then he also has labor, and he also has direct labor, because the labor that is involved in selling that particular product, either the chair or the car or a pen, he has to have stockists who are running his stores or go down or warehouse. He has to have a sales personnel. So you have a salesperson, you'll have a customer service manager, the sales manager, showroom managers. So these all come under direct labor. For him, there is no indirect labor per se, but for him, there is direct labor in the selling of this particular product. And then he's got the overheads. And overheads for a retailer are basically the shipping and handling. So he has to package the product, he has to unload the product, he has to store it somewhere, and he has to move it from the go down to his retail shop. Again, if he's in the delivery business, he has to deliver, let us say if he's in the business of fridge or TV, he has to deliver it to the customer's house. So there's a cost in delivering and shipping it. All those come under his overhead costs. But there are certain elements also of cost incurred by a business which is not considered in product costing. They are cost, no doubt about it. But when you want to calculate a product cost, these costs are not added to that. What are these elements? Your marketing, sales, utilities, rent, and auditing fees. Why these are not included into the product? Because there's no business which makes only one, let us say a pen, doesn't make one type of pen. They may make fountain pen, ballpoint pen, black ink pen, red ink, blue ink, different products. And the cost of each is different. It may not be the same. The cost, I'm not talking of price again, it's cost. Whereas marketing, when you're marketing, the retailer, he doesn't have a separate advertisement for a black pen or a blue pen. He will be advertising as, Parker pen. So to assign that particular cost to a particular product is very, very difficult. And so in business, we don't, try to split the hairs and try to get this cost also assigned to a particular product. Similarly, utilities, your water bill or electricity bill. How do you know that this particular car in the showroom is taking so much of electricity? You cannot, right? So you have 5 different cars displayed in your showroom. The total electricity bills remains the same. So you cannot assign that so much energy of electricity, that cost is to say the Mahindra Thar, this much is for the Mahindra Scorpio, which I have displayed. We cannot do that. So that is why this is also not considered in the product cost. It is a cost for the business. Again, I'm repeating, but not cost on a product costing. It's the same with rent. You are paying the rent for the entire facility, not for a particular product that you're displaying there or you're manufacturing. There are other elements like auditors' fees, legal fees. These are all not paid for a particular product, so you don't consider it as a product cost. So how do we calculate now? We come to the calculation of product. We have now understood what are the elements of cost, how it is categorized, and then within the categorization, what all comprise the various elements of the cost. Now we look at how do we calculate? We've got all the cost now. Now how do we calculate the cost? It's a 6-step process. In manufacturing, we first have to categorize, like I told you earlier. We first categorize the manufacturing costs. How do we do that? So in a factory, you will find the accounts person along with the purchase head. They work together, and any element that is being brought into the factory, which helps in manufacturing. Now, what are the elements? One is the raw material, which is the direct. You also have the indirect, like you have the hammer, the gum, the glue, and the nails, the saw, other things, which are required, even cloth, even gloves. All these costs, when they are bought in, there's a bill attached for every such purchase. Every such bill and every such purchase has to be tracked, and these expenses have to be noted down in a book, or now of course it's all computerized, so it is noted down in the particular software and program and accounted for. But then again, you cannot just take all this and then say, okay, this is my cost. No, you will have to put it for a particular period of time. Now I'll give the analogy of what we do at home. When your parents or we ourselves, those who are earning and run a family, how do we run our family budget? We take, okay, this is my salary for the month, or this is my income for the month. What are the expenses for a month? So we define that, okay, let us look at a period of 1 month. It's the same way with businesses also. We take all the cost elements for a particular period of time, and usually it is for a month. So whatever costs we are incurring in the production of a particular product for that month is all tracked and categorized. Then we tally them. Again, going to the next step of categorization is what? Putting them as direct and indirect. So direct material and direct labor. So this is also then taken and tallied for that particular product for that particular month. That is the second step in terms of direct materials. Similarly, we track the direct labor, that is how much salary, wages, incentive, bonus, and other expenses are incurred during that month for this many laborers who are producing that particular product. The fourth, fifth, and sixth steps are like this. So we have now the raw material, that is the material cost. We have the labor cost. Now we take in the overhead cost, which is nothing but the indirect material and labor costs. So that is also then tracked in the same way and accounted for. Now that we have all the three costs put together, we also, at the end of the month, we take stock of how many such products have been produced in that factory, manufactured. That's the total number of units produced. And then come to the last step of calculations. All the costs are added up. So you have the direct material, the direct labor, and the manufacturing overheads. These three costs are then added up and divided by the total number of units of that particular product that has been manufactured. So this summation divided by this total number of units gives you your per unit cost of that particular product. And that's how product cost is calculated for a particular product. Remember, this is again product cost. It's not your business cost which will come into your profit and loss statement. Business cost, again, there are other costs Like I said, marketing, utilities, rent, and all which to be added. We are now talking of only product cost. Why do we need to know product cost in the first place? Especially, all you youngsters here who are coming out with innovative ideas and plan to have a startup with some very creative product. When you create a product, it has to sell, and you are in a business where there's a lot of competition. Either your product is innovative, but then even if it is innovative, a customer will buy it only if he sees value in that. And for him to see value, you got to keep your costs to the minimum. Which is why, how will you keep your cost minimum unless you know what is the cost going into manufacturing the product? Correct? So that is why we need to know the product cost, how much it costs for me to make that particular chair or that particular car or a particular pen or anything. And then I'll realize, okay, with my innovation, I have brought the cost to so many rupees. In the market, there are already such products available which are same price or higher. If it is lower and I'm coming out with a higher price product, then I have to have something else designed in that product to make it attractive to the customer. Otherwise, if I'm going to compete in an existing segment, I need to make the product cost as competitive as possible. Then only I can sell it at a competitive price. And to do that, I need to know every single detail of my product and therefore product cost. So summarizing again, what are the 6 steps involved in calculating the product cost for manufacturing? We first categorize the manufacturing cost, tally all the direct materials, and then the direct labor, then the manufacturing overheads, find the sum of all the manufacturing overheads. Take into account what are the number of units manufactured with all these labor and materials. Then add all the cost together and divide this by the number of units that are made, and you get your product cost. I will explain this with an example so that it becomes even more easier to understand. So let us look at this example of a shoe manufacturing company called Supercat Shoe Company. They are into manufacturing shoes. So what did I say about calculating the product cost? First, let us take out how many shoes they are making. That is the total number of units produced. Let us say this particular company manufactures 5,000 pairs of shoes. And what is the cost involved? First, let us take the raw material cost. So let us say the raw material cost comes to something like 28 lakhs. These figures are just arbitrary numbers. Please don't question them. Okay, they may or may not make sense, but it is just for understanding the calculation and the numbers. Then we are going to consider the labor costs. So what is the labor, that is the direct labor costs involved in manufacturing these 5,000 pairs of shoes? The accountant at the end of the month says we have spent 13 lakhs as salary and incentives and bonus to all these people for manufacturing 5,000 shoes. And then what are the overheads? Overheads, again, to recollect the definition, these are all indirect costs, not directly involved in the manufacturing product, but indirectly they are involved in making the finished product. So you have the adhesives, you have the molds, you have the machine cost, you have the security guard, shipping, and several others like this. Like you have, Diwali expense, canteen expenses, food expenses, uniforms. All this come separately as the others in the overheads. And in this example, let us say the cost came to 6,65,000. In the previous slide, I explained to you what is the formula for calculating product cost, adding all these costs and dividing it by the number of units produced. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 divided by 5,000 pairs. That is 47,65,000 divided by 5,000. So the cost of one pair, the product cost of manufacturing one pair of shoes in this company is coming to 953 rupees. So that becomes a product cost. It's a very simplistic model of arriving at a product cost. Now with this, how does it help you as an entrepreneur? Now, you as an entrepreneur would already have done a market study. Let us say you are getting into the business of manufacturing shoes. You would have already done some market study and found out what is the cost of producing a shoe with your competing company or any other company which is into manufacturing shoes. With this calculation, you will have an idea whether you're going to come out with a competitive product or it is going to be an expensive product. And then you can make your business plan and your marketing plans on how to sell it and what needs to be done to sell it. Understood so far? Any questions on whatever you covered so far? Because now we'll go to the product costing from a retail perspective. Understood, Dr. Shweta. Thank you so much. Now let's look at similarly, how does a retailer calculate his product cost? He's not into manufacturing, as I told you, he's only into selling, which means he buys the product from the manufacturer. So he has a cost of purchase. The purchase cost as a distributor or as a retailer, they also term it as landed cost for that particular product. Now, after the product is landed in his place, in his godown or his stores, he has to now sell. But to sell it, he needs staff, which means there's a labor involved. In stocking also, he has a labor involved because he has to run his warehouse. So he needs a storekeeper, he needs some hamali to carry the cartons, pack it, repack it, unpack it, and all these things. So all those costs come under direct labor cost for the retailer. So just like in the manufacturing, here also the accountant takes a list of all the costs for a particular month in the labor perspective. Similarly, he takes the overhead costs. What are the overhead costs for a retailer? You have, he's running an air conditioning facility, or he must have made up his showroom as per the guidelines of the manufacturer. So there's some cost involved there. All these costs come as overhead for the retailer. Then similarly, the same formula is used, adding all these costs and dividing by the number of products purchased, not number of products he has sold. Why is that? Because he's already paid for the product. He's already bought the product from the manufacturer. So that's a cost he's already incurred. So that on that, what is his product cost? So we take all the costs involved divided by the number of products he has purchased, or number of units of that particular product is purchased, and you get the product cost from a retailer perspective. Again, this is not his selling price. On this, he will add his margin and then sell. But for him, his cost for the particular product is arrived in this manner. I'll share a simple example here also. Let us say a company called Spring and Sprint Shoes. He is into retailing or selling sports shoes. So in a month, let us say he has purchased 1,000 pairs of shoes. And at what price he has bought those 1,000 shoes? He has bought at 15 lakh rupees from the manufacturer. His labor cost, like I told you, the cost of his salesperson, receptionist, hostess, customer care, all that put together comes to 6 lakhs. And the overheads, which is basically shipping and handling, comes to 2,40,000. These are all again arbitrary numbers. So product cost comes to 1 plus 2 plus 3 divided by the number of shoes he's bought. It is coming to 2,340 per pair. So you see the product cost of a particular shoe from a manufacturer was 953 rupees. The same for a retailer can work out to as high as 2,340. And then he will add his margins and or markup and sell the product at maybe 2,500, maybe 4,000, all depends on the brand and his strength as a retailer. Where is his showroom? What is the kind of customers who are coming into showroom? But that's a different topic and that's a different subject altogether of sales. How to sell and market a particular product. This is only on product costing. So that was about product costing. Before we go to the next topic of cost consciousness, any questions so far, any doubts, any clarifications?
It's not directly question related with this topic, sir, but in general, like the big giant who are selling the market,
yes,
generally they will give the rebate. So that rebate is your exactly the total cost, which is retail that they are giving as an offer, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
You're talking of rebate offered by the retailer or by the manufacturer?
For the retailer, sir, actually like big giant like a Reliance and a Smart Bazaar, the new trend has started.
Yes.
Then some are there like a Walmart and all.
Yes.
They have the big giant shops and they will give the so much offers. Yes. So that was I think they are directly purchasing from the manufacturer.
Yes.
And then they are getting their own profit and they are giving us a offer. Correct?
Yes. Whatever offers anybody is making, any discount, whether it's for shoes or for cars or, you know, for vegetables also, the discount is on the profit margin. It is not on the cost. If they start hitting the cost also means he will inevitably make a loss. So like here in the example which I showed you, let us say a manufacturer, he's manufactures a shoe for 953 rupees. Now he has to sell it to a retailer. If he has to necessarily sell it at more than 953 rupees because otherwise his cost is not covered. So he can tell the retailer, okay, I will sell it to you at 1,300 rupees and he'll make a profit of 400 rupees. Then again, depending on competition or, you know, if he has got excess products, if he has produced of the shoes and he wants to sell it off and, you know, remove his stock, instead of 1,300, he will tell the retailer, okay, I'll give you a discount of 100 rupees. If you take so much shoes, I'll sell you at 1,200 rupees. So his profit has come down, but he's still making a profit. Sometimes in bad times, it may happen that, you know, the seller will say, look, there is no customer for your particular shoe. There is no brand pull for your shoes, you know, so I cannot sell it. But he's already produced now. What will he do with it? So just to liquidate stock on 953 rupees, his product cost itself, he will sell it at the same cost. He'll say, okay, no profit, no loss, no ghata, no you know, gain. आप ले लो मेरे से मेरा stock तो निकल जाएगा तो जो मैंने whatever I've spent on making the stock, at least that money I will recover.
Yeah. So, sir, in continuation of this, I have two more questions.
Yeah.
One is that online shopping or online selling, we can say like Amazon and Flipkart and all.
Yes.
That is another question. And one more question is like a direct selling companies like Amway and other are there.
Yes.
So if you can glimpse on that cases, so it will be good for understanding.
Yeah, see, both in terms of online and the direct selling, we are now looking at the retailer calculation of product. Okay. In the olden days, or even now in many of the businesses which are not online or which are not direct selling, there's a cost of shipping, handling, storage. So these are all costs which comes to the retailer. He adds it to his price and then he puts a margin. Now, let us say on online, let us say like Amazon. You know, they tell the manufacturer, look, you are making 1,000 shoes. So these 1,000 shoes, you have to give it to some 100 retailers. One in Delhi, one in Bangalore, one in Calcutta. So you have a cost of transportation and all these things, talking to them, getting their money. Instead of that, I'll be one buyer, I'll buy all your 1,000. But don't sell it to me at 1,300 rupees, which are giving it to the other guy. Since I am buying the entire 1,000 rupees in 1,000 shoes from you in one shot, you give it to me at 975 rupees. Say 25 rupees is your profit, but give it to me in one shot. Now for the manufacturer, there is an advantage here because he's getting his entire stocks moved out at one time. So he saves on, you know, stocking cost, he saves on transportation costs, he saves on the headache of running behind all these retailers for money because they'll be on credit. So to save all that cost, he gives it to Amazon at 975 rupees. Amazon then sells that product at 1,000 rupees. So now you are a buyer and you say, okay, if I go to the shoe showroom, the shoe is being sold at 1,500 rupees or 2,000 rupees. Whereas if I go to Amazon, I'm getting it at 1,200 rupees. So that is the advantage which these online people have. Similarly, direct selling, the Amway is also the manufacturer. He is manufacturing these creams and oils and whatever it is, but he's not going to a distributor network. So he doesn't distribute it to the wholesaler in say Gurgaon, and from there it goes to Karol Bagh or anything like that. He's just keeping it in one place, and he's got direct customers who come directly to him and say, I'm buying this from you. So since he's saving on the cost of distribution, that element which he's saving, he removes it from his selling price, and his product cost or the product price, again, it's not cost, product price becomes competitive compared to a similar product which is being sold by a distributor or a retailer. So it's the entire supply chain where, with every step, there's a cost being added. If that step itself is not there, these costs are not added. So you have the manufacturer you have the wholesaler, distributor, retailer, and then the final consumer. This is the fifth person in the supply chain, in the value chain. Now, if I remove the distributor, wholesaler, and I tell the customer, you come straight to me only and buy it. So I'm saving all these costs. So you did not pay for this cost. You pay only this cost. So the end buyer also sees that, okay, I pay 1,000 rupees here instead of paying 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, giving 100 rupees to each of the elements. So I also save 300 if I buy directly. The manufacturer also saves costs by saying, I don't need to pay these people. I've got my sale to the direct customer. Finally, unless the direct customer buys, your product doesn't sell. The ones who are in between, they may be known as buyers or sellers, but they are basically stockists. They are not consuming. Finally, somebody has to consume your product, not just buy and sell. So the difference between a buyer, seller, and a consumer. Finally, all products have to be consumed. So the manufacturer would like to go straight to the consumer. If you see, even in cars nowadays, especially brands like Mercedes, they are coming out of this showroom concept. They are telling the customer, you can come online, go to my website, see all the models. And now because of artificial intelligence and so many things, they can have a virtual car drive itself on the website. And you can choose your colors, choose your interiors, everything they can do and say, okay, I will take this model, this color, this variant. The manufacturer says, okay, this is the price. You pay the money for taking the car. Okay, you go to this particular distributor on MG Road or Connaught Place or wherever and take the car and go. So the distributor or the retailer's job is now not to sell, is only to just display the car and deliver the car. So they're reducing the cost of that and also the experience.
Oh.
So these are some of the new developments in the supply chain and value chain of businesses. Even banks, if you see now, the olden days, people used to go to the bank, go to the cashier counter, take a token, wait over there, meet the manager, then take the money, count. Nowadays, we don't do that. We do everything online on transaction on bank. We hardly go to the bank. So that has saved a lot of money to the banks by investing in technology of app and ATM machines. Now they don't need a branch. When they were having a branch, they had to pay rent for that branch. They had to pay the salary for the branch manager and accounts manager, cashier, so many people. Now all that is eliminated. Instead of 10 branches, only some 5 branches is required.
That is also the concept of the merging the bank also, sir?
Merging bank is different. That is to increase the market share and to be number one, in terms of market capitalization and all these things. Merging is not really to save cost. It is more to increase their presence. So when you merge a banks, the customer is not gaining anything. It's only the banks which are gaining. The concerned bank, whichever is merging with another, it becomes a bigger branch. I had 100 branches. Now that bank has got 50 branches. I'm merging with it. Now I have 150 branches. So I become a bigger business entity.
And can I ask one more question, sir?
Sure.
Sir, in the Amazon and other Flipkart, generally they will used to ask from the retailer also to do the register and sell their product.
Yes.
So that concept is based on what means the retailer has to give some profit from our side, or the cost of the product is decreased or increased, or what is the calculation?
Yeah, see that again, suppose I'm a retailer for books, okay, and I want to sell books through Amazon. So I register myself as a seller for books. They will tell, okay, you can decide whatever price you want. Amazon does not tell you that, no, you have to sell this book only at 100 rupees. You want to sell it at 1,000, you can put it. That is your price. But on 1,000 rupees, 2% I will take as my commission for allowing you to use my portal. So if it is 100 rupees, 2% is 2 rupees. If it is 1,000 rupees, it is 20 rupees. But whether it is 100 or 1,000, it is left to the seller. Amazon does not dictate the price. They will tell whatever price you want, you put it. We are giving you the facility to put your product in our website. So when a customer comes to Amazon and he searches for your book, it is available in our website. And this is the price. Similarly, discount. You want to give a discount, you can put. So you can put, this is my selling price, this is my MRP, and I'm giving a discount of so much. But I will charge you so much. That is fixed.
Generally, that profit is 2% only, sir, or always? Or
It depends. It depends on the product category. So Amazon does not really distinguish between product categories as such. They have their own standard, categories, like how we talked about labor and overhead as categories. They have categories, books, study material, electronic goods. So for different categories, they have different percentages. And the same product now, if you want to sell it in Bangalore, if you are a seller in Bangalore and you're selling it in Bangalore, the delivery cost will be, say, 50 rupees. But if you want to sell it in Delhi from Bangalore, the delivery cost will be 150 rupees. So accordingly, you have to keep your pricing, because if your pricing is fixed for all the markets, then on faraway markets, you tend to lose money, because you have to shell out more money to Amazon for delivering that product.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for clarifying the doubts.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope I have clarified it
Yes,
well
sir.
enough.
Clearly, sir.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, if nobody else, then we'll go to the next topic for discussion is cost consciousness. So here again, I would like to ask, what is your understanding of the term cost consciousness? Now, cost we have understood. What do you mean by cost or product costing? But that is product costing. But what do you mean by cost consciousness?
Sir, to be conscious of like customers' condition also, like we should not overcharge them, or if we have the power to do so. So we should be conscious about the consumers also.
In a way, you're right, Vineet. But here again, we are talking only from the businessman's perspective, not the customer's perspective. So I am an entrepreneur.
Okay.
If I'm running a business, what does cost consciousness mean to me? Not as a buyer. I am the innovator entrepreneur. So I'm running a business.
Like competitive costing or price, but this will be pricing.
You're almost there. But let me be a little more specific. When we talk of cost consciousness, the word consciousness means awareness. So I'm aware that, I'm making this shoes at 953 rupees. Now, can I make it cheaper so that I can increase my profit margin and I'll have more customers coming to buy the product? That consciousness, awareness. हाँ, मेरे को पता है कि हाँ, मेरा product जो है इतना cost है उसका. And I should work towards maintaining that cost or reducing that cost. It is like, again, let us look at our family budget. Every month, we say, okay, our expenses for vegetables and provisions and all these things is 5,000 to 10,000 rupees. मेरे को मालूम है. And I'll make sure that I always spend only this much. I will not go beyond it. If I'm not aware, so suddenly the bill will be 10,000. Next month, suddenly, अरे 15,000 गया हाथ से. कैसे? We don't know. So not knowing is being not conscious. Conscious means होश रहना. तुम होश में हो कि मालूम है कि this is the cost. Okay. So when we talk of cost consciousness, we need to know what, how, when, and why. So what do you mean by cost consciousness? As I explained, it is the awareness of cost. You have to be aware. Again, going with the example of the shoe or the chair, why my cost is say 953 rupees? Because the wood is costing me so much. Because the foam is costing me so much. So how do I reduce the cost of 953? I have to look at alternatives to wood, or I have to look at alternative materials to reduce my cost. So first you should get that consciousness that yes, I'm aware of my cost and I should not spend more than what is necessary. There will be a cost, there will be expenses. You can't say absolutely no, मैं कुछ खर्च नहीं करूंगा and you'll be a miser, you're conjuice. You cannot. You have to spend. You have people, you have to pay them salaries, you have to give them increments, you'll have to give them bonus, you'll have to give them promotion, you'll have to give them, some freebies. but limit yourself based on your business model. What is the business you are in? And therefore be very careful about the spending. That is what cost consciousness means. You have to be very conscious. You should not say, I don't know kharch kahan ho raha hai, mera paisa kahan ja raha hai. You cannot say that. So cost consciousness, the first step is to be aware. Now, why do we need to be aware? Okay, kyun? Mere ko kya? I have the money. I don't need to be cost consciousness. No, you need to be. And why? Let me tell you. When you have cost consciousness, you can manage your funds. The moment you're not able to manage the funds, again, I'll give the same example as a family being run. If I am not able to spend within my income, of my salary is say 50,000 rupees, if I spend within that 50,000 rupees, I will make some savings. Suppose my spending goes beyond that. How will I spend for it? I have to start borrowing. So I take loan. Loan koi fukat mein deta hai, muft mein deta hai? No. They charge you interest, right? Which is additional cost. And it's a burden. And nobody gives you loan for free. They'll tell you, okay, against loan, apna ghar girvi rakho, ya sona girvi rakho, ya land girvi rakho, something. So your asset is again gone there. And it adds to your financial burden. In a business perspective, again, like one of the examples that Mr. Vivek gave yesterday in the working capital management, if you don't manage your cash flows properly and you borrow, your operational efficiency will come down. What do you mean operational efficiency? Efficiency is input by output into 100. So whatever you put, if within that you're able to get your output, you make profits. If you end up making too much of wastage and spending too much money, and the result is only 950 rupees worth shoes, whereas you have spent 1,000 rupees to make that shoes, you'll be at a loss and you cannot sustain that. So you'll be operationally inefficient. So that is why you need to be cost conscious, the why part of it. So you know what is cost consciousness, you know why you need it. Now, okay, as a businessman or entrepreneur, how do I ensure cost consciousness in my business, in my company? You have to first build a culture. What do you mean by the word culture? The word culture means the way we do things here. So what is the culture in, say, Galgotias University? The culture is one of studying, education, innovation, creation. So if I join Galgotias University, yahan pe I see everybody involved in creating something, in innovating something. They are busy studying about biotechnology or whatever. That is the culture in Galgotias University. Study and educate and spread knowledge. Similarly, what is the culture in your business? If you are starting a business, you have to ensure that your purchase manager, your factory manager, even your security fellow or your canteen guy, they are aware of the cost. So for a canteen guy, he should ensure that food is not wasted. So if there are 100 people in your factory, he will make food only for that 100 people. He will not make extra and throw it and waste it, because whatever he's making adds to your cost. But if he says, no, doesn't matter, I'll waste it anyway, I'll get the money from this manager, who's getting affected? You are getting affected. So when you make a wrong decision, that is why the next point, know the cost of your decisions. You may say, okay, there are 100 people, but you make food for 125. Baad mein dekh lenge. So you're knowingly giving a decision to spend more money where it is not necessary. Which comes to the third point. Do I really need to spend so much? Again, I give the example of the family. That's your best example always to remember. Ki ghar mein kaise, maa chalati hai, ya your wife runs the show. Fizul kharchi mat karo. Kharche karo, but fizul kharchi mat karo. It's the same for businesses. So if you are conscious about controlling your cost, you know how it will help you and how to do that. So everybody in an organization has to do it. And obviously it has to start from you as the entrepreneur. Let us say you start a business and you're not yet started making profits, but you're saying, no, now I am a businessman, I am a startup genius and all, and I go and buy a BMW or Mercedes car. And my team, I pay them very less salary, I don't give them increment. I say, no, abhi company ne profit nahi banaya hai, you work like this, but I go around in my fancy car. what will the team think? Think, अरे यार यहाँ पे business अभी तक घाटे में चल रहा है and मेरा owner देखो, he is spending money on flashy lifestyle. So then he will stop becoming cost consciousness. So when he buys the raw material, let us say for your company, he will not bother to negotiate and say, "No, I have to buy this raw material at this cost only. You're charging me too high." He will say, "Okay, doesn't matter. Even my Malik also is not bothered about cost. I'll buy it at a higher cost." So what happens? Your cost goes up, your expenses go up, your profitability goes down, your operational efficiency goes down. So you have to, cost consciousness has to start at the top. So start with you or with me. And then I have to ensure that my team is also equally cost consciousness. Then when everybody is cost conscious, they come together and we work as a strong, operational, efficient team. Right? Now, when to be cost consciousness? So does it mean, okay, only as long as the business is just start up and not making profits, then you have to be cost conscious? Once it makes profits, should we start spending left, right, and center? No. Cost consciousness is a continuous process. For example, even as a manufacturer, if you are a supplier to another person, I'm coming from the automobile business, automotive component. So let's say we are making shock absorbers. Now I can't just sell the shock absorber in the market. I'm selling it to Maruti or Ford or Mahindra. They are buying it from me. And I'm not the only manufacturer of shock absorbers. So if I'm selling that particular, let's say Maruti 800 ka shock absorber at 5,000 rupees, there may be another competitor who's ready to sell it at 4,000 rupees. Now Maruti will say, okay, I will buy it from the other competitor because that reduces my car cost. 5,000 rupees into 4, so 4,000 rupees. Similarly, if he reduces cost elsewhere, the total cost of his car comes down and he can be more competitive. Maruti cars will become more cheaper, isn't it? So the Maruti purchaser, he will not buy your shock absorber. And in real business, I can tell you, all OEMs or original equipment manufacturers, as they are called, they give a target to every supplier. Every year, I want 2% or 3% cost reduction. If not, I will myself reduce the price and I will buy what I was buying at 100 rupees from you this year. Next year, I'll buy it from you at 95 rupees or 98 rupees. Now, unless you have continuous cost cutting or cost consciousness in your business, next year, what will you do? You cannot sell the product at 98 because your cost itself is at 100. So you need to make this a continuous process, especially if you're in the manufacturing industry. The last point, forget the supplier or the buyer. There are external elements which are not under your control. You know, 2 years back, what happened when COVID suddenly hit. Most businesses, they had to reduce their manpower. They reduced their production. If they had 5 factories, 3 factories were closed, only 2 were running. At that time, where will you go, to save money and make money? You already, your cost is so high. But if you were continuously, working on cost consciousness and reducing your cost, and keeping that, margin healthy, when some crisis hits like this, you have that buffer to run. Okay, even if my factory is closed for 3 months, I can still pay salary to my people because I have made enough cost cutting, in the previous years, and I have money in my pocket, which I will give it to them. So the people also will be happy. They'll be loyal to your company. And after the 3 months of COVID lockdown, when we start again, it's business back as usual. Those who didn't do it, they had to close down. They said, we don't have money. Apart from external factors like COVID, we also have government regulations. Suddenly, the government will say, okay, no more diesel engines. Where will you go? You've always been making products with diesel engine. Suddenly there's a government says, no, you have to move to electric or this thing, and they give you so much time. Similarly, interest rates, whatever it is, you're borrowing funds for your business. And suddenly the banks say that, no, we cannot give you at 8%. Now the interest rate has gone up to 12.5%. So that increase again adds to your cost, which if it was not on a reducing trend, it is going to worsen your cost structure. Correct? So unless it is a continuous process of cost consciousness converting into cost reduction, you will reach a state where it becomes very problematic to continue your business. And the most important is the second point, top down. You as the business owner or entrepreneur, you have to show by example that, look, I am practicing cost consciousness. I want my team also to be like that. Then only we all stand to gain. So my advice to all you young business entrepreneurs, practice this and then see how good you can continue. So with that, Gauravji, I complete my session. If anybody here has any questions, anything that you would like to ask.
Thank you so much,
These
sir,
are my
for the informative talk.
coordinates and contacts.
Yes, sir.
Always feel free to contact me or connect with me on offline. I'll be too pleased and happy to answer your queries to the best of my abilities.
Okay, so dear participant, if you have any query, although the session was very interactive, but if you have any query, you can unmute yourself and ask the query.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where do we get this kind of information in detail, sir? Actually, can you suggest any website or any book or any other PDF you can share with us in these cases? Like
I'm sure there'll be a lot of material on the net. This is whatever, as I told you from my personal experience when I was a product manager, how we developed a product and what was we considered as the inputs. And then as a business head, how this cost consciousness, I have gone through this COVID period as a CEO, and we had to shut down many of our showrooms. We had to remove almost 25% of our staff to reduce our costs. So I've gone through this. That is why I was able to explain these by example. These will be available in a lot of, finance management books on product costing. Cost consciousness, nobody will teach you. It is something that, you have to have it or you don't have it. But the practice of, financial management, if you look at or financial strategy, those books will give you some ideas on, how to manage costs in business.
Actually, sir, in the internet nowadays, so many things are available and we do not know which one is the good one and which one, because this is not my area of work also. I
would suggest then, see, there are some good websites like, the IIM, they have a lot of material in their websites, which they sell, or even the Harvard Business Review, HBR. They have a lot of reading material on various topics. You can, join any of those portals. You can become a member. It doesn't cost that much. And you will keep getting various study material or reading material on these topics.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. And you have explained, it is appreciated. You have explained in very simple way. So it was very understandable.
Thank you.
Really, some terms used to be there. It's like a big, so we could not able to understand and catch up and all, but you have explained very well.
Thank you. As I was telling Dr. Gaurav, my idea is to keep it simple so that everybody understands.
Yes, sir.
You should always go to the lowest common denominator rather than the highest common denominator in the class. I mean, I don't need to teach you, all your professors, the way you teach in your class. It is to make the poorest student also understand rather than the smartest student. Smartest student will understand anyway. But the poorest student should understand.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, actually, we are also organizing the faculty development program from August, 4th August, it may be probably. So kindly accept our invitation for that faculty development program on entrepreneurship also.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Most welcome. I'd be too happy to add value.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful talk. And kindly accept e-memento on behalf of Galgotia University, Institute Innovation Council, School of Biomedical Sciences and School of Business, the organizer.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Shweta, for your just reading your chat message. Thank you, Dr. Gaurav. Yes, I really appreciate this. It's my honor, and I am happy to be associated with Galgotias University. And in future, anything else you require from me and whatever I can add value to the youngsters of today, I'd be too happy.
you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we are moving ahead for the next talk. Our next keynote speaker has joined the session. Welcome, Dr. Bhawana, ma'am, to this TEDP.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. So, Dr. Bhawana Rawat, ma'am, has several specialization in accounting, corporate finance, international accounting. He has received her PhD from Aligarh Muslim University, MCom from the AMU again, and he has the professional experience. He is also working as a professor at the School of Finance and Commerce, Galgotias University. He is also worked as the professor at the School of Management, Rafael University, Rajasthan. He has also worked at Doon Institute of Management Research, Doon Group of Institution, Rishikesh. He has worked as a part-time lecturer in Sri Varshney College, Aligarh, affiliated to Agra University. So she has also published several papers in reputed journals and delivered several invited talks in various conferences and workshops. So I would like to invite our speaker, Dr. Bhawana Rawat, ma'am, to proceed with this session. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for accepting the invitation. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir, for considering me for this speaker session. I am really humbled and grateful for giving me this opportunity. And I just hope that with this session, the listeners or the participants will going to get some beneficial information which will help them out in their future endeavors, especially when they are looking forward to run their own businesses or when they are looking forward to start their own startups. So today I will be taking up a very important aspect, which ultimately you can say is like a center stage for any business activity, and that is related to your cash flows. So again, if you let me just share the PPT and then I will start.
Yes, ma'am, you can share it.
Okay, so is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
PPT?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Okay. So if anyone looks into a business scenario with a special respect to various activities that are taking place. So let's take an example of you're purchasing a raw material. If you're running a business or if you are into a manufacturing business, you might be purchasing a raw material and then you will be processing that raw material into a finished good. And then you will be selling it out in the market to the customers for their consumption. Now, each and every stage, if you see or if you observe, there is an involvement of cash. Or you can say without involvement of cash, directly or indirectly, you cannot perform any of your business activity. And that's why these cash flows are very important for any business organization, be it a startup or be it an existing business at any stage of their life. Okay. So again, if you see cash flow, if you can look into this picture, you can easily have an impression that cash flow is nothing but it's the money coming in the business and money going out of the business. Now, as I told you earlier, the various activities that takes place in a business that ultimately leads to an inward flow or an inflow of cash or cash equivalent into a business, or an outward flow of cash or cash equivalent in a business. Now, ultimately, when we talk about these cash movements, inflow and outflow of cash and cash equivalents for a specific time frame, which generally in accounting consists of 12 months, we call it as cash flows. Now, these cash flows basically acts as a base for identifying the cash position of a business or the cash availability with a business. Or in simple words, you can say how much cash at net a business is having for a given time frame, which generally we are talking as 12 months. Now, these assessment of these cash flows is important for business organizations for varied purpose, prominently being preparation of the budgets and showing financial position or showing financial health of the business to the respective parties, herein prominently investors. Now, when we talk about the two terminologies which we have discussed, cash and cash equivalents, the cash herein basically means the currency notes. In India, it's rupees, in US, it's dollars, so on and so forth. The coins, the petty cash balances which a business is having, the bank balance which a company is having, any money orders, bank drafts, checks, or any overdraft facility or overdraft balances which a business is having with the banks. Now, in contrast to these cash equivalents basically are those securities which can be converted into cash or which can be liquidated within a time frame of 3 months. So if you are having any type of security which you can convert into cash by selling it out in the market within a time frame of 3 months, or which may get converted into cash within a time frame of 3 months, forms part of your cash equivalents. And the prominent items that form part of your cash equivalents includes your short-term government bonds, marketable securities, treasury bills, commercial papers, etc. Now, again, when we are talking about inflow and outflow of cash, the resultant impact will be that your inflows may be more than your outflows of cash, or your outflows may be more than your inflows of cash. Like again, the sir said, which is about the cost effectiveness, that if your cost of production is more than your selling price, or if your sales is more than your cost price or cost of production, in that respect, we are talking about that if your inflows of cash or from whatever source your money is flowing in the business is less than your outflows of cash, or you can say cash outflows, sorry, with respect to various activities against which you have to make payments. So that will either going to increase your cash balances or whether it's going to decrease your balances of the cash flows. Now herein, when we talk about the cash flow, there are two major terminologies which are taken into consideration. One is your gross cash flow and another one is your net cash flow. Now the difference between the two is that gross cash flow is nothing but the total amount of cash inflows which are coming into the business. So you're not considering any form of payments made by the business. You are just considering the receipts in terms of cash receipts for a business concern. Now, in contrast to that, net cash flow is the difference between your total cash inflows and total cash outflows. Or simply you can say whatever money you are getting in and whatever money you are paying out. The difference between the two will be your net cash outflows. Now, again, the sir in the earlier session just discussed about that you bear certain cost when you are producing a certain product, and then you sells out that product at a certain price. Now, when you are just focusing upon the revenue generated or the money which you are going to earn against the sales, that will be a sort of your gross cash flows, broadly speaking. And when you finds out the difference between your sales or revenue generated and your cost of production, broadly speaking, it is like a net cash flow. Now, again, as we are saying that the difference between your inflows and your outflows is your net cash flow. That is something which is utmost important for any business organization. And again, since your inflows may be more or less than your outflows, therefore, your net cash flow can either be positive or it may be negative. Now, as I have told you earlier also, positive cash flow is nothing but it's the excess of your inflows over your cash outflows. And it basically reflects that business ultimately is having enough money in its pocket to meet out its future requirements. So any need which may arise in future with regard to different aspects, that can be easily meet out with the as a result of the positive cash flows which a business is having. Now, in contrast to positive cash flows, the negative cash flow have an impression that a business is not operating efficiently and is inefficient or doesn't have the ability to pay out if it's any future or present commitments or any future or present liabilities. Now, again, as I told you earlier, that net cash flow ultimately out of the two concepts, gross and net cash flow is something which is a matter of concern for any business organizations. Now, positive cash flows is the indicator that since there is excess of cash with the business, so it is an indicator that business will always be in a position to pay off its future obligations in terms of payment regarding the expenses, various expenses, or payment with regard to any liability that may arise. And it at times also shows about the operating efficiency of a business. Now, again, in contrast to the positive side of a positive cash flow, there have been also interpretations with regard to that the excess or too much of surplus cash flow or too much of positive cash flow may not be beneficial for a business, because it is a representation that whatever money balance, whatever cash balance a business is having, they are not able to utilize it efficiently. Now, again, take an example. Suppose, consider that you are running a business, or consider that even if you are earning a salary, okay, so you have got an option of either putting it in a bank or investing in some security through mutual funds or any other avenues, or you have an option of keeping it in your pockets or in your home. Now, which is more beneficial? So you are earning and you are not consuming it, and you are just keeping it in your almirahs, in your lockers at home. So that is not going to give you any incremental outputs, you can say. उसकी वैल्यू नहीं बढ़ेगी, वो उतना ही रहेगा. अगर आपने 100 रुपए you have put it in your locker, it will remain 100 rupees even after month, even after 2 months or a year. However, if you put it in a bank or you invest it somewhere, you might get some kind of return which will appreciate the value. So if your excess cash flows or your positive cash flows lies with the business or lies in the balances of the business, then it says it represents that business is not utilizing its funds efficiently. And that's why even if a business is having positive cash flows, it should be in a position to utilize it efficiently as well. Now, the major importance of analyzing cash flow positions, or you can say it is always important for a business concern to keep track of what their cash flow position is because of certain reasons. Major being that your analysis regarding cash flow position provides very crucial or critical information about the businesses with regard to the financial health of a business, how, or in other words, you can say how strong a business is with regard to any future obligations to pay. The various business activities that a business is performing and whether those business activities are efficient or not, effective or not, and the reported earnings which a business is earning through its varied activities. Now, at the same time, the analysis of cash flow position may also help businesses in planning for their short-term goals, their long-term goals, their working capital requirements, and the optimum cash levels that any business need to maintain for its smooth function. And your cash analysis of cash flows also helps in making projections with regard to the future, you can say, future scenario about what may be the cash flows in the future period of time. So you can make projections, you can create your budgets by analyzing what your cash flow position is. Now, when it comes to the various types of activities that takes place in any business organization, especially in an existing business organization, there are three prominent type of activities that may appear, and that's why it is important to keep track of cash flows under these three activities. So those three broad activities includes your operating activities, investing activities of the business, and financing activities of the business. Now, proceeding further, what these three activities are, what are the major items that form part of these activities, and why it is important to keep track of cash flows under these three broad activities. We will be focusing upon that in the coming slides. Now, sorry. Coming on to the concept of cash flow from operating activities. So cash flow from operating activities is the quantum of money generated or quantum of money consumed, which we call it again as cash inflows or cash outflows from operating activities or from the regular operations of the business. Like again, take an example, suppose you are into a manufacturing business. So whatever activities that is directly or indirectly related to manufacturing of your product, from the production till the sales, that is basically your general or regular operations. So any cash inflow or cash outflow arising because of these manufacturing and sales activities, that form part of your regular business operations, and that will be your cash flow from operating activity. Now again, as we discussed earlier, your positive cash flows under the head of operating activities specifically will be generated generally by selling goods or rendering services. If you are into a service, if you are into a business of providing services, it may also include collection from your sundry debtors or payment to your sundry creditors, etc. So inflows basically is the receipts against your regular business activities. Outflows will be with regard to the payment in context to the regular business operations, which may include your purchase of raw materials or purchase of inventory, paying salaries to your staff, paying corporate taxes to the government, any office or administrative activities, maintenance activities of your office, etc. Now, these operating activities, if you look into the composition of all the three activities, be it your operating, investing, or financing activity, operating activity constitutes the major composition of the operations of any business, and that's why utmost importance should be given to these operating activities, because the outcome of these operating activities will decide upon the or you can say will be a decisive factor for the other two activities. And that's why whenever it comes to a business operations, one should always look forward for efficiency in operating activities, should always look for maximizing the revenues of its business so that operational efficiencies can be achieved. Now, herein are the few examples that constitute part of your operating activities. Your outflows includes payment of salaries, interest
ma'am.
expenses to creditors. Yes, sir.
Hello. Yeah,
Hello,
ma'am,
sir.
Can you? Yes, ma'am. Can you explain once more about negative cash flow?
Okay, so negative cash flow is nothing but it's the excess of payments over the receipts. Like sir said, sir gave that example of shoe, that your cost comes out to be 1,000, but your revenue generated is 950. So it will be a negative cash flow. Broadly speaking, we will differentiate between the two because sir uses the concept of profit or loss there. So broadly speaking, you may consider it as same, but technically from the accounting perspective, there is a difference between your cash flows and your profit or loss position. So we will be discussing about that at last. As of now, I believe that I am able to differentiate between negative cash flows, how it will appear. I hope I have answered your question.
Okay, ma'am. Ultimately, it becomes loss, right? If a person purchases 1,000 and sell
a sort of loss, not exactly loss, because again, from accounting perspective, there is a huge difference between cash flows and profits or losses. But broadly speaking, in a layman term, you can call it as a sort of loss. Okay, we will differentiate between the two. Okay. Okay, so proceeding further, herein are the few examples that constitute part of your operating cash inflows and cash outflows. So any dividend paid by the company, any taxes paid by the company, if there had been any lawsuit against the company, if any payments have been made against the settlements, any marketing or advertising expenses incurred, any expenses with regard to purchase of raw material, payment of salaries, etc. That will be your outflows. And your any revenue generated, any income from your investments, like you have invested in the securities of a company and you have of any other company and you have received dividends, any payment you have received from your debtors, you have sold out goods on credit and then those debtors have made you the payment. Okay, you have got some refund from your suppliers, you have received some you can say reimbursed compensation against the settlement of lawsuit, etc. All that form part of your operating expenses, incomes or income. Now, why it is important to analyze your cash flow from operating activities? Now, again, as I told you earlier, that operating activities basically constitute a major chunk of all the three activities in any business organization. Therefore, these operating activities acts as a benchmark for an analyst who is analyzing the financials of a business organization or any other user of the accounting information to determine about the financial stability of the business, whether business is actually stable or not. Your net cash flows from operating activities helps in identifying the cost effectiveness of a business as well, whether a business is cost effective or not. Again, in the earlier session, sir clarified about that cost effectiveness. Your cost of producing a product compared to your revenues or sales generated actually tells you about the cost effect. Your analysis of cash flow from operating activities also helps in analyzing or determining the expense bearing capacity of a business, whether business will be able to bear the expenses which are being incurred at present or which may need to be incurred in future period of time. You can analyze that as well. It also acts as a financial parameters for analysts, creditors, and investors to determine about how efficiently a business is operating and whether it's beneficial to contribute or to invest in the given business or not. It also helps decision makers, be it your management, be it your board of directors. It also helps them to take crucial decisions with regard to maintenance of operational efficiency and liquidity of a business. Uh, it also helps your board to make management decisions with regard to expansion, with regard to diversification, with regard to launching a new product into a market or entering into a new market, or regarding consolidation of its position in the market by purchasing back its own shares from the market, etc. So herein are the few important uh, reasons because of which it is important for any business organization to keep track of cash flows from operating activities. Now, the second aspect here of operations of a business is your investing activities. Now, investing activities basically refers to the funds contributed or acquired by any business organization, either by purchasing securities or making investment outside, or selling securities or its investments to others. So again, like take an example, suppose you are earning a salary. Okay, so one thing is that from that salary you have to run your house, your whatever the payment of your electricity bill, payment of your uh, petrol expenses, etc. need to be done. That is something which is the operating activity in general, if you in context of your personal life. You may also use the excess money for purchasing any flat or purchasing any property. So if you are purchasing any property, that may constitute, or you can refer it in context of the investments which you are making. So when it comes to businesses, your investing activities is generally related to purchase or sale of any fixed assets, or acquiring another business, or acquiring shares or any other security of any other business. Herein are the few examples related to your investing activities. So your cash inflows will take place because of the payments which you have. Your cash inflows will take place because of the sale of fixed assets or sale of your investments which a business is having. Any loan or advances which have been given earlier to other businesses and now been collected, or any interest or dividend received against the investments made in other companies, or any insurance claim, etc., received in cash. Okay, so cash outflows will be against payments made for acquiring the asset, payments made for acquiring securities or shares or any other security in other business, cash or loan or advances given in cash to any third party. Now, when it comes to your investing activities, you can have a positive cash flow, you can have a negative cash flow, similar to your operating. Now, your positive cash flow is always going to arise when your receipts will be more than your payments. So your sales, or you can say whatever money you are going to receive against sale or loan given, etc., it is more than your payments, it will be a case of positive cash flow. And a positive cash flow with regard to investing activities is a representation of divestments made by assets, made by business of its assets, which will ultimately going to increase the cash balance of the business. So suppose if you are holding any asset and you are selling it out, so you are going to receive money against that sales made. So it will be a divestment initiative by a business concern, which will ultimately going to increase the cash flow. However, though it will create positive cash flows for the business, it is not considered as beneficial for a business concern, because when you are selling out your properties, it gives an impression that either the business operations are not running effectively, or there is some problem with the operations of the business. Okay. Like, again, take an example. Suppose you keep on taking loan, or you keep on selling out your properties to run your daily operations. So that will give a negative impression कि आपकी financial position probably is not good enough. That's why you are selling out your properties. Similar is the case with the business as well. Your negative cash flows, on the other hand, is an impression that businesses is into a very good position, and they are looking forward to invest heavily into the fixed assets, or they are looking forward to heavily invest into the mergers or acquisitions or takeovers in the coming years. So even if, especially in case of investing activities, even if a business is having a negative cash flow, that at times is considered good for a business concern, because it gives an impression that companies are heavily investing in from the perspective of its long-term growth. Cash flow from financing activities is the third type of operations which may take place in any business organization, and that generally includes your receipts or payments related to the capital of the business. Now, positive cash flows refers to raising of capital from equity or long-term debts. Okay. Now, again, if you look into the capital structure of a business, the sources of finance, you can say, there are two prominent sources. Either companies can issue equity shares or shares in the market and arrange for the long-term funds, or they can borrow funds from the market, either by the creditors or by the lenders or banks, financial institutions, or debenture holders, etc. So again, if your receipts of cash because of issuing security is more, then it will be a positive cash flow. And if your repayments of whatever borrowings you have taken, or if you are making repayment against any loan which you have taken, or bonds you have issued, it will result into a negative cash flows for the business concern. Now, herein are the few examples related to it. So if you are going to issue equity or preference shares, or you're going to issue any long-term debt or debentures, you are going to buy back your shares from the market, it will lead to cash inflows, so issuance of shares is going to lead to inflows, buyback is going to lead to outflow. That's fine. Cash outflows, on the other hand, will be a result of repayment or redemption or payment of dividends to the shareholders, etc. Now, why it is important for any business concern to keep track of cash flow from financing activities? So your analysis of cash flow from financing activities helps in keeping track of the quantum of the amount which business is still owes to the outsiders, or you can say the quantum of amount that need to be repaid in a future period of time to the third parties who have given you loan in one or the other way. Again, your analysis of cash flow from financing activities helps you in identifying that what quantum of money is being withdrawn by the businessman for its own personal uses. So you can keep track of drawings which are made by a businessman for his or her personal purpose. It is also an important indicator. The scenario of cash flow from financing activities is also an important indicator for investors and lenders to determine the level of risk that may be associated with the business, because investors and lenders are one who are going to put their money in the business, and if they are putting their money in the business, they always want to know whether it's risky or not. Okay, so the position as shown from cash flow from financing activities, they can find out the risk associated with the business, and accordingly they can decide upon whether to give money to the business or not. Now, in addition to your cash flow from operating, your cash flow from investing, or your cash flow from financing activities, there is another concept which is called free cash flows. Now, free cash flows is nothing but it's the spare cash balance, or you can say the remainder cash balance, which a business gets or ascertains after making payment of all its operational expenses and any prospective capital expenditures. Okay, so again, take an example. Your salary is, take an example, a lakh a month, and your current operational expenses of buying your household things comes out to be, take an example, 30,000. Your petrol expenses to going to job and coming back comes out to be another 10,000, take an example, and your interest payments for whatever property you have taken on installments, that comes out to be, take an example, another 10,000. So out of that lakh, whatever your commitments are, or whatever your future commitments may be, okay, you are sparing those, and the resultant balance which you are going to get will be your free cash flows, because that cash flow, the remainder balance, is nothing but it is that balance of cash which has not got any sort of obligation to pay. वो कैश बैलेंस ऐसा है जिसके बियॉन्ड अब आपको कुछ पे नहीं करना, आपको जो कुछ भी पे करना था या जो कुछ भी आपको पे करना पड़ सकता था, आपने वो सारा सेट असाइड कर दिया, और उसके बाद आपके पास जो बैलेंस बचा, दैट इज योर फ्री कैश फ्लो. Now, your free cash flows is basically one of the most important aspects, because it tells you about the performance of the business. So, more the balance in your free cash flows, the more efficient a business is performing. It also helps in measuring the changes in the working capital that is taking place, net working capital with a special preference, which is an important parameter for an investor to decide upon the health of a business, to decide upon the trends that are taking place in a business, and to decide upon the cash liquidity available with the business to invest in future endeavors. And that investors, because of knowing about the free cash flows, they can decide upon whether it's beneficial to invest in a business or not. Now, as I told you earlier, that we will be trying to I will be trying to show you how your cash flows and profits are different from each other. Though they can be, in a layman term, they can be used interchangeably, but technically there is a difference between your cash flows and profit. Now, when it comes to cash flows, as we say, the flow of cash. So in that case, under the head of cash flows, we are only considering those activities because of which, in actual situation, either your cash is coming into the business or your cash is going out of the business. So until and unless against any activity, if cash is not coming in or cash is not going out, you're not going to consider that under the head of cash flows. Okay. Your cash flows may have an impact upon the profits. Now, in contrast to that, when it comes to profits, accruals are something which you consider while ascertaining your profits. So any future prospective money that is likely to come into the business or that is likely to go out of the business, you considers that accruals also while calculating your profits. Like again, you can refer to that. Herein are the credit sales or credit purchases. So credit sales or credit purchases are nothing but you have made the sales, but you haven't received the payment against those sales. उधार जिसे हम बोलते हैं, ठीक है? आपने सामान बेच दिया, but आपको पैसा नहीं मिला अभी, आपको कभी फ्यूचर में मिलेगा. So you are going to consider such kind of credit sales or credit purchases or your commitments with regard to liabilities while calculating your profits. But when it comes to your cash flows, such kind of credit sales or credit purchases or liabilities are not going to be considered until and unless actual cash movement takes place. Now, summarizingly, as we have discussed so far, that there are three prominent activities that takes place in any business organization: operating, investing, and financing, which ultimately leads to cash flows, which may either be positive or which may either be negative. And it is always important for any business organization to keep track of cash flows under these broad heads, because it gives crucial informations, not just for the business to take important decisions, but it also gives important information to various other users of accounting information also to take crucial decisions with regard to whether to invest in a business or not, whether to lend money to the business or not. So it is always beneficial for a business to maintain positive net cash flows overall. So in individual category, be it operating, investing, or financing, based upon the criteria, there may be positive or negative cash flows, but overall, a company or a business should always seek forward to maintain positive cash flows. I'm done with the presentation. Thank you very much for listening to me. If anyone have got any questions, they can ask. Thank you.
Yeah, ma'am, thank you for your lecture. Ma'am, I want to ask about the buyback.
Okay, so, sorry, sir.
How a company buyback is share after, suppose if a company is share into the market and investor purchase those shares, after that,
Okay.
how that particular company also wants buyback those shares,
Okay.
those share among the investors.
Okay,
What
so
are the
basically,
process behind it?
sir, it's a technical aspect. The only thing is that whenever a company is having a consolidation with regard to the cash balances, any company doesn't want, as a shareholder, or you can say as a owner of a business, nobody wants to liquidate their powers. So whenever there is a sufficient amount of cash balance with the business, they always seek forward in benefit of their existing shareholders to consolidate their position more. Okay. Like again, if you are comfortable with Hindi, I may come up with that example. I think that will be better understood.
Yes, sir. Yes, sorry, ma'am.
Okay. So suppose आपके पास किसी कंपनी के शेयर्स हैं एंड यू आर द मेजर स्टेक होल्डर. ठीक है, मेजर का मतलब है कि अगर किसी कंपनी के 10,000 शेयर्स हैं सपोज मार्केट में, नॉट इन मार्केट बट अदरवाइज आप 25 या 30% स्टेक्स ले रहे थे, तो यू आर अ मेजर स्टेक होल्डर. अब सपोज कंपनी आप आप हमेशा चाहोगे कि वो 25 या 30% के इक्विवेलेंट आपकी जो भी ओनरशिप है बिजनेस में वो कम ना हो, वो उससे ज्यादा जरूर हो सकती है, आप हमेशा चाहोगे, ठीक है। So what company will do is, or what you as a major shareholder prefer is, कि whenever a company is having sufficient cash balances, they should look forward for consolidating your and similar to your other owners also to consolidate their positions. So जब भी sufficient cash balance होंगे, you will a sort of compel the company to go for buyback. So उसके लिए they will go for an advertisement and they will seek for the company is looking forward for the buyback of shares, and whosoever is interested to sell out their shares back to the company, those shareholders can sell out. तो जो स्मॉल सेलर्स हैं जिनके पास माइनॉरिटी स्टेक्स है, माइनॉरिटी स्टेक्स इन टर्म्स ऑफ कि जिनके पास कम क्वांटम ऑफ शेयर्स हैं, कम यूनिट्स ऑफ शेयर्स हैं, if they are in need of money, they can sell their shares back to the business, and that is whole the process of buyback. तो हम टेक्निकल एस्पेक्ट में नहीं जा रहे कि क्या पूरा अकाउंटिंग के पर्सपेक्टिव से प्रोसेस है, मैंने आपको एक ब्रॉडली स्पीकिंग प्रोसेस बता दिया है कि ये बायबैक का कॉन्सेप्ट है। तो जब कंपनी अपने ही शेयर्स मार्केट से वापस परचेज कर लेती है वो आपका बायबैक ऑफ शेयर्स है। आई थिंक इफ यू हैव गॉन थ्रू द न्यूज, अडानी ने आई थिंक जब वो उस पे वो इशू अराइज हुआ था, दैट कंट्रोवर्सी अराइज्ड, उन्होंने अपने कुछ शेयर्स वापस मार्केट से परचेज किए थे so as to consolidate their position. Thank you. Anyone else?
Okay. So if you have any query, please unmute yourself and ask the question. No question? Anyone? Oh. So thank you so much, ma'am, for
Thank
the
you so much, sir.
talk and
Thank you, sir. Thank
informative talk. So kindly accept the gratitude from the organizing committee and appreciation for taking this very informative and wonderful session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much once again for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am.
And
We are very grateful to have you as a speaker, ma'am.
Thank you. And I hope that participants have actually been have got some kind of benefit with this session.
Yes, ma'am. So actually the session was interactive. So we hope that they have get something. I am still inviting the participant. If you have any query, you can ask to our speaker.
Most welcome anytime. If anyone have got any issues, they are most welcome and they can reach out. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So moving ahead, our next speaker, Dr. Nupur Mishra, ma'am, has joined the session. Welcome, ma'am, in the 4-week TEDP sponsored by the DST.
Thank you.
So thank you for the accepting invitation to deliver the invited talk. Dr. Nupur Mishra, ma'am, is currently working as associate professor in School of Finance and Commerce. She has total 12 years of experience in teaching. She teaches the accounts and finance, and her qualification are PhD in Commerce, Master of Finance and Control from the Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi, and she has provided one-day training at REITs Limited, a government of India established under the aegis of Indian Railway, to the senior level manager to the topic finance to non-finance manager. She has also provided training to IBPS selected candidate for the syndicate bank at NITTE Training Institute of the Banking and Finance, Greater Noida campus. She has worked as editor of Galgotias Business School newsletter 1-to-1, being a passionate teacher, as well as she always put her effort toward the overall development of her student. So we are very grateful to have you, ma'am, in this session.
Thank you,
And
sir.
we are inviting to deliver the keynote address to our participant. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. Good afternoon to all the dignitaries present here. Honorable VC sir, Dr. Renu Luthra, advisor to the Chancellor, former Vice Chancellor, Galgotia University, all the respectable deans, external experts, faculty members, and my budding entrepreneurs. I sincerely want to thank the organizers of this TEDP for giving me the opportunity to share my views on the given topic. I would also like to thank our Dean, SFC, School of Finance and Commerce, Dr. Anurag, for having faith in me and providing me this platform to share my views on the given topic, profitability and balance sheet. So without wasting any further time, I would like to start with my presentation. I'm sharing my screen. So obviously this program is for the budding entrepreneurs. So I would like to relate this topic in context with the entrepreneurs. So today we are going to talk about one of the most important aspects of entrepreneurship, that is profitability and balance sheet. See, every businessman wants to succeed, but without a solid understanding of profitability and balance sheet, that success can be elusive. Profitability and balance sheet, we can say, are the two very important financial aspects that provide insight into the financial health and the performance of the company. So keeping that in mind, my presentation cover these following topics that will discuss about the profitability, the understanding about the balance sheet, their formats, simple format, simplified format. Then what are the key indicators we can extract from these two important financial statements? Then what is the importance of these two financial statements with regard to the entrepreneurs? Then some real life examples of Indian entrepreneurs, how they have improved their profitability and balance sheet by analyzing these statements, by working on these statements, by finding out the key indicators. And a small case means just an example that how your budding entrepreneur, how a businessman can, what are the areas where he needs to work, and conclusion. So this presentation, we'll be exploring all this. Going on to the main part. Profitability, because the students might be here and they'll be very well knowing the profitability. So understanding profitability is very crucial for the entrepreneurs because it allows them to make informed decisions about their pricing, expenses, and investments. So it measures the ability of the company to generate the profit from its operations. The profit and loss shows the revenue that the company is generating, expenses that is incurring from there are basically two type of expenses, that is variable and fixed expenses. And by relating these two, by matching these two, revenue and the expenses incurred in relation to the revenue, will get profit or loss. So entrepreneurs, by analyzing the profit and loss account, can identify the areas where they can improve their profitability. because see, for a businessman, earning profit is not very crucial. It's crucial, but not so difficult. But remaining sustainable is very important. So every businessman in his mind has two important objectives. First is short-term objective, that is profitability. Another is your long-term objective, that is sustainable growth or creation of wealth. So that could only be possible, your long-term goal can only be possible if you're able to achieve your short-term goal, that is your profitability. So first, we need to work on the profitability. This is a small, please note that this format is a simplified representation, and the company can have additional line items or disclosures depending on the specific circumstances. So this format basically it depends on the accounting standard also, but I've tried to take a simple because I'll try to explain that what are the key areas where we need to focus in this statement. So basically the statement is divided into first the revenue that is generated. What are the sources from where the revenue is generated? Revenue is generated from the sales, from the goods that they are producing, the businessman is producing. If it is a manufacturing concern, if it is a retailer, they are getting from the retailers and they are selling. Other incomes they are earning by the way of commission, by the way of rent, by the way of interest or dividend. From this, we need to deduct the cost of goods sold. As I've told that the company normally have two type of expenses. One is variable, another is fixed. So if we talk of variable expenses, also known as a cost of goods sold, or it is also known as a production cost. The cost of goods sold is a direct cost which is incurred in the production of any goods and services. So company can lower the cost of goods sold in a way they can increase their gross profit. So when we deduct from the sales, we deduct cost of goods sold, we get the gross profit. And from the gross profit, when we deduct all the other type of operating expenses which the company is doing apart from the variable cost, apart from the production cost, they are known as operating expenses. Now, operating expenses are divided into various parts: selling expense, administrative expense, your other expense. Selling expense include your selling and distribution, salesman salary, then packing, advertisement. Administrative expense include your day-to-day expenses like rent of the building, insurance, and other expenses includes your financial expense. So when we deduct all these operating expenses from the gross profit, we get the operating profit. And in this operating profit, when we include all the other types of operating incomes, like in the non-operating incomes are those incomes which are not a part of the core operations, but still it is a part of the organization. So the company, the profit that they're earning from investments, from property, these are known as the non-operating incomes. So when we add that, we get profit before tax. And from that tax, when we deduct the corporate tax, we get the net profit. So what are the key profitability metrics that we get from entrepreneur or investor or analyst or businessman can look into these areas in the profitability where they need to work upon? First is the gross profit margin. As discussed in the format, it is a percentage revenue left after deducting the cost of goods sold. It measures how effectively a company managing its production cost. So obviously, if the company wants to enhance their gross profit margin, then they need to work on the areas. They need to find out what are the costs, what are the various costs, like in cost of goods sold, their opening stock, direct expenses, raw material costs, labor cost. So what are the areas which are taking too much of cost and it is resulting into the loss? So businessmen need to work on the areas, on the components of the cost of goods sold, that is your opening stock, direct expenses, closing stock. And by maintaining that at an optimum level, they can increase their gross profit margin. Another is your operating profit. It is a matrix that represents the percentage of revenue that is left after deducting your cost of goods sold and operating expenses. Obviously, it also relates It also helps the company in generating the profit and strengthening the core business of the company. Net profit margin. Net profit margin, we can say it is a revenue that is left after deducting all the expenses, including your taxes and interest. That is known as those financial expenses. That is interest on loan, interest on investments. So it provides a measure of overall profitability and indicates the company's ability to generate the profit after all the costs have been accounted for. Another very important indicators are return on investments, return on assets, return on equity, and earning per share. Return on assets means that how efficiently the company is able to utilize its assets. And in relation to that, how much money, how much net profit they are able to generate. Sometimes it happens that the company is having a lot of assets, but still they are not profitable. Why? Because they are not utilizing their assets properly. It might happen the company may be having a lot of stock, but keeping a lot of stock is not profitable for the company. Unless you sell it out, unless you use your plant and machinery properly, you will not be able to generate the revenue. So we have to keep the assets also as at an optimum level. So companies with a lower ROA usually have more assets, and which involves and companies with a high ROA generally have a fewer assets. So ROA also is the best way where the companies you can the similar companies compare themselves and can find out their profitability and can improve their profitability position and see that the idle cash is not that the money is not tied up in the assets. Assets are converted into cash. Then only it will then only the businessman is going to get the revenue. Next is return on equity. Return on equity, it measures the return earned on the shareholders' equity or shareholders, the money that is left for the shareholders, how efficiently we are able to use the money that we are getting from the shareholders. Another indicator is earning per share. Earning per share, it is widely used metrics that indicates the profitability of the company on a per share basis. It is used to calculate the corporate value. Higher EPS means the greater value of the company. Okay, so these metrics are very important. The analyst can, or the businessman or entrepreneurs can keep a check on these areas if they want to improve their profitability. Next, understanding the balance sheet. Balance sheet is a financial statement that shows the company assets, liabilities, and equity at a specific point of time. So it provides an overview of the company's financial health and help the entrepreneurs make an informed decision. Obviously, because the balance sheet provides a snapshot of the company's financial health at a given point of time. It's because it shows the components, various components which are involved in the company, like assets, liability, and equity. So balance sheet is basically divided into two parts: your assets and your liability. On the right hand side, we show the liability and equity, and by comparing the two and on the left hand side we show the assets. So by comparing the two sides, the entrepreneur can get an idea of their financial position. And it is very important for the entrepreneurs to understand the balance sheet because it allows them to track their company's financial performance over the period of time. The key areas or the components are in assets, basically divided into two parts: current assets and non-current assets. Current assets, as many of students must be knowing, that current assets which is converted into cash within 1 year. Then your non-current assets, which takes a longer period of time, more than 1 year, to convert into cash, like property, plant, your intangible assets like copyright, patents, and your long-term investments. So that makes up the total asset. Next is another part is liability and shareholders' equity. So liability include your two components: current liabilities and your non-current liabilities. Current liabilities are the liabilities which is going to mature within 1 year. So obviously the company needs to have ready cash in order to meet the ready emerging liabilities. So, and the non-current liabilities include your long-term debts, your debentures, your long-term loan. So, they make up the total of liabilities. And then comes your shareholders equity. Shareholders equity basically includes the money that is left, the money that is left after giving all the liability, after paying all the external debts, the money that is left for the shareholders, that is your share capital, retained earning, profit and loss of the previous year. So that basically constitutes of shareholders equity. Total of these makes your total liabilities and shareholders equity. Like entrepreneur can analyze and find out the key areas where the improvement can be done. Similarly, the key areas where the balance sheet can be improved, and the profitability can be improved various. In order to find out more how profitability and balance sheet can be analyzed, as we have discussed earlier also, that the entrepreneurs notice that their profit margin is decreasing over the period of time. So they can investigate by looking onto this financial statement, profit and loss and balance sheet, that what are the areas they need to work upon. They should the indicators where or the areas where they need to work upon is revenue, where they need to work upon. Entrepreneurs should examine the source of the revenue. They should find out that whether the source of revenue or the if there is a change in trend, change in consumer preference, taste, then it might be affecting their revenue. So in order to keep on check on the revenue, they should keep a check on the customer change and patterns and taste, so that they can keep their revenue in check, and they can analyze the revenue by the product service category, by customer segmentation. If their product is not working, then if not selling in the market, then they can innovate or do some innovation or bring some new products in the market, because then only with this only they'll be able to improve their revenue position. As discussed, cost analysis. So cost analysis, by looking after the various cost, variable cost, the various variable cost includes your labor cost, your material cost. So if it happens that the labors are not sufficient, labor cost may be increasing because maybe the environment is not is not suitable for the laborers, because of which they are taking more time to make the product, because of which they may be charging, or they may be strike or lockouts. So that may result in increase in the cost, variable cost of the company. That will directly affect the profitability of the company, because that is going to affect the production cost. Okay, so the entrepreneurs or the business should work upon these costs, so that they can be kept at an optimum level. Similarly, your stocks, like keeping the stock. So various method inventory management techniques are used, like EOQ method is used, so that the stock carrying cost, the company does not incur more of the carrying cost, because that is also resulting in the production cost and increasing your cost structure, because ultimately it is going to affect your revenue. Another is gross profit margin, as we have discussed, because ultimately your gross profit is getting affected by your cost of goods sold. Operating expenses, other type of operating expenses, selling and distribution, administrative expenses, they'll be contributing a lot in making your profit less or more. Now, what are the key areas in the balance sheet where we need to work upon? Because the balance sheet gives us the picture of the from the various aspects, like current assets, basically give us the indication of the liquidity position of the company. That how is the liquidity position of the company, how solvent the company is, whether the company is having the ready cash or not to pay the ready liabilities. So that liquidity analysis can be done, and the cash management can be done effectively by looking at the balance sheet, by knowing components of the current assets. It can happen that the stocks, that the much amount of money is tied up in the stock and they are not getting converted into a cash. So liquidity analysis can be done with the help of the current ratio, various financial ratios which are used. So current ratio basically gives you it is a relationship between your current assets and current liabilities, because it gives you the indication that whether how sufficient is your current assets to meet those obligations which are going to arise immediately after 1 year. Similarly, long-term solvency position can also be find out with the help of debt analysis, which we call as a debt to equity ratio or interest coverage ratio, because it tells you that how much internal equity you're having as compared to the external equity, because it tells you that what is a long-term solvency position, whether you'll be able to pay your interest on time or not. Because obviously, if you're not making your interest on time and you're not making the principal payment of time of loans or debts, then your credibility will be highly getting affected. Then looking at the assets and equity, we can find out the activity position of the company also, that how efficient you are able to manage your assets and equity. If like asset turnover ratio, your working capital turnover ratio, there are various ratios which are used, cost of goods sold ratio which are used, which tells you the activity ratio, that how efficiently the company activity is or management is, how efficiently they are utilizing their working capital, how efficiently they are utilizing their assets, their total assets, and how efficiently they are utilizing the money of the shareholders, and in relation to that, how much money they are able to generate. So these are the analysis. Now we come on to the next part, that is what is the importance of profitability for the entrepreneur. The key reasons which I want to focus upon. First is sustainability and growth. I hope this I'm making sense, and it is in relation with the entrepreneurs. I've tried to relate it as much as possible with the entrepreneurial aspects, because obviously entrepreneurs are a business, small business who is yet starting, so they need to focus on the profitability. They need to work upon their profitability and balance sheet, because without doing that, they cannot succeed. They cannot sustain. So that first importance for the entrepreneur for to improve their profitability position is the sustainability and growth. See, profitability is crucial for the long-term sustainability, because surviving in the business world is necessary if you want to remain in the competitive world. So not only the profitability, but profitability position also helps an entrepreneur to remain in the business for the longer period of time, generate the wealth for himself and for the shareholders, and get a growth. Growth in terms of going abroad, diversifying the product, going for strategic alliance, making investments, whatever the money they have saved out of their profit position. So, so sustainability and growth is very important. Next, obviously, the cash flow management. The profitability directly impacts the cash flow of the business. The positive profitability ensures that the business generates enough cash to meet its financial obligation, such as paying to the suppliers, employees, or creditors. It also provides the necessary liquidity of fund for the day-to-day operations. Next, investment and financing opportunities also provide, because obviously if you're not having profit, then obviously you cannot grow, you cannot invest. And if you're investing, then it is not necessary that you're investing in a small asset or small amount of money. You might be investing in a project which involves a heavy capital outlay. So once you take that decision, it is not coming back. So profitability position is very important, because if the company wants to grow, they need to find out that what are the sources from where they are getting funds, whether they are able to save that much, having a retained earning, which they are able to invest in not only in short-term assets, but also in long-term assets. Because obviously your long-term assets only are going to give you growth. Another is business valuation. Obviously, profitability plays a very important role in determining the value, its worth. Because it attracts the potential investors and also attract the creditors. And it also helps the company to be in a favorable position. Obviously, it also gives the competitive advantage. Competitive advantage means that you are an added advantage. You are having some USP in relation to your competitors. So profitability can provide a competitive advantage by allowing the business to invest in R&D, in marketing, in customer services, add-on services that they, because with this only you can be in added advantage with other types of with other competitors in your industry. Then it also provides a personal financial reward. Obviously, entrepreneurs also want financial reward from for themselves. So profit can so they can reward themselves by reinvesting this money for the growth purpose. Next is the significance of the balance sheet for the entrepreneurs. So the importance is basically these areas where the entrepreneur need to focus on the balance sheet. That is the financial health assessment. It helps the company to do a financial health assessment. The balance sheet provides, because it provides a snapshot of the financial health of the business at a specific point of time. So obviously it gives a clear picture of the company's assets, liabilities, and your shareholders' equity. So by analyzing the balance sheet, entrepreneur can find out the solvency position, that how much solvent, how much total money they are having, that they're able to pay their long-term and short-term liabilities. And also it helps in decision making. The balance sheet assists the entrepreneurs in making the informed decisions, that where to allocate their resources, how to plan for their future growth. The decision, they can take their decisions for the future, because obviously by looking after their liquidity position, solvency position, then only they can take the decision for the future. So it helps an entrepreneur in identifying the areas where the business may be over leveraged or having the excess assets. It can be utilized more effectively. For example, if the balance sheet shows a high leverage of cash reserves, then entrepreneurs can decide to invest that money in a new equipment, use that for the R&D purpose, or for doing some marketing campaign for the so that the growth which can result in the growth for the company. Another importance is the your investors and gaining the investors and creditors' confidence, because obviously a strong balance sheet shows that your credibility position is good. So it helps in seeking the external funding, or doing the partnership, or doing the strategic alliance. So because every external party want to do the business with a particular business who is having a strong balance sheet. So balance sheets serve as a critical, we can say, a document that provides a potential investors and creditors to review or access their financial standing of the company. Because a healthy balance sheet with a strong assets and with a reasonable amount of debt to equity ratio, which is normally set to be 2:1 ratio, can enhance the confidence, and you can say increase the chance of securing financing or attracting the strategic partnership. Another thing that is very important, it helps the company in compliance and reporting, because balance sheet is a core component of financial reporting, through which you are reporting all the transactions, whatever you're doing during a particular time, you're reporting that in a particular format. And it shows that you have been complying with all the laws, all the tax laws, and you have been doing the business ethically. So entrepreneurs need to maintain an accurate, up-to-date balance sheet to fulfill their legal and regulatory obligations, such as tax filings and financial audits. It can only be done unless you are having a balance sheet. So if it is the failure to maintain a proper balance sheet, it can result for the penalties and legal issues, or obviously the damage of the company's reputation. Another thing that is very important is your business valuation. Obviously, it also helps in the business valuation, as profitability also helps in the business valuation. Both are important financial statement. So balance sheet is also an essential factor in determining the value of the business, determining the wealth of the business, so how much the wealth the company is having. because when the business is seeking to sell, it is going for acquisition. It is going to get acquired by a profitable company. So they need to look. The other parties need to look at the balance sheet and the profitability position. So a well-prepared balance sheet reflects the true value of the company's assets and liabilities and contribute to the favorable valuation outcomes. So by regularly reviewing and analyzing the balance sheet, entrepreneurs can gain the valuable insight into the company's financial position and can make an informed decision. You can say managing your debts, attracting external financing, and obviously maintaining the compliance with all the financial reportings. So both these financial statements are essential for evaluating the company's health and making the informed decisions. Next, I would like to cite some examples from the of Indian entrepreneurs that how they have improved their profitability and balance sheet. And obviously, you will agree with me that Havels India have been a very remarkable, we can say, an entrepreneur, an Indian entrepreneur who has been from a small business. They have grown to a global level, which was founded in 1958 by Keynote Speakers. So Havels India is a prominent example of, we can say, the electronic equipment company in India, which has made a remarkable, which is having a success story that how they have how they have grown from a small trading firms in Delhi, having a small having a production of switches, wires, and your circuit breakers. The company they have grown into a global level. So what they have done, the company focused on the product innovation and quality. Their leadership and vision is very important, which should be cited upon is the second generation leader, Mr. Anil Rai. He took a charge and he enhanced the growth of the company by diversifying the company into various areas. Now it is in fans, lighting, home appliances, and kitchen. You can see everywhere there's a Havels. So from a small trading firm, by focusing on the product innovation, diversification, because if the company keep on remaining in producing one particular product, and that is not making a profitable for the company, then obviously the company needs to diversify. So that what Havels have done. They have diversified into the other areas like light, fans, and home appliances. They have also, notably, the company have also grown at a global level. They have acquired a European lighting company and have become multinational corporations. And obviously, because growth, because you cannot keep on remaining the same boundaries and do the business. If you have to grow, then you have to go outside the national boundaries and do the business. Another, we can say, the area where Havels have worked upon is building the brand and marketing by celebrity endorsement by the popular celebrities. They've increased their brand visibility and connect with the customers. So obviously this approach is very important, very crucial to remain in the business. They are they are the and if you want to be a market leader, then obviously you have to focus on these areas like brand building, diversification, going global, doing the strategic alliance with the foreign partners. So Havel emerged as we can say a market leader in several product categories like switches, circuit breakers, fans, lighting by employing all these techniques, which helped him to emerge as a market leader. And the company also focused on the customer satisfaction. It is not that they are just advertising and they are not concentrating on the customer satisfaction. Time to time, they are also having the research team was also working to find out whether the product that they are launching is the customers are satisfied or not. So with doing the quality improvement and efficient distribution channel, they have been now they are in the position where they are. Another example I can quote is of Reliance Industries by Mukesh Ambani, the chairman. They have also achieved, they are also one of the India's largest, we can say, a conglomerate. They have also a diversified business focusing on refining, petrochemicals, retails, digital services, and particularly in technological sector through launching of Geo. How they have enhanced their profitability by launching Geo. They have increased their network coverage and they have attracted the million of customers, leading to a substantial revenue and growth and increased profitability for the company. Another example is Paytm. You all know it is a word of the digital wallet services. So Paytm by Vijay Shekhar, founded by Vijay Shekhar, is a digital payment and e-commerce platform. They have also improved their profitability by providing a variety of services in the digital area, digital wallet service area, including the bill payments, whatnot, mobile recharging, online shopping, and so they have been attracting every type of customer by providing diversified digital services. So they have been doing a lot of investment by diversifying their services and improving their profitability position. Another example is OYO. Then, so a budget hotel, we can say, that quickly becomes one of the India's leading hospitality startup. And the main focus of OYO is attracting the middle class people who and coming out with these types of hotels, which is affordable and providing affordable prices. So their main work, their main aim of improving the profitability by focusing on the customers, by targeting a particular set of the customers. So providing the services for those type of customers, attracting the middle class people who cannot afford too much money on the hotels. So providing the services to these type of customers by doing a target customer marketing, they have improved their profitability. Another example is your Asian Paints. Asian Paints is one of the leading, you can say, a paint manufacturer in India. The company has consistently, we can say, has demonstrated a strong profitability and balance sheet. Asian Paints achieved this by focusing on innovation, introducing new products, expanding in distribution network, and also coming out with their various TV shows. Many of you might relate with the various TV shows that in which many of the customers want to renovate their house. So Asian Paints used to sponsor them. So through this, they are marketing their brands. Through this, they are attracting the customers to these TV shows. So what is this? This is through attracting the customers by branding, by marketing, through TV shows. They have been attracting the customers, which is ultimately leading to the profitability of the company. There are many examples of our Indian entrepreneurs, if we talk, like Zomato, which is having a tie-up with the small hotels and restaurants. And by having the tie-up with the small hotels and restaurants, they are targeting all the type of customers, whether the customer is from lower middle income or middle income class or higher class, so they can easily order. So this by adopting this type of strategy, they are attracting the customers and increasing their profitability position. There are a lot of Indian examples we can cite, like Flipkart, Bajaj Alliance, Ola. So these are the certain Indian entrepreneurs which I thought are of key value, who are increasing how they have increased their profitability and balance sheet. Next, with the help of a small case study, I've tried to tell you that how a business, how an entrepreneur can improve their profitability position. I've taken a small case, let XYZ Electronics Private Limited, the name of this a hypothetical name. So XYZ Electronics is a small electronic manufacturing company based in India. The company designs and produces consumer electronics such as smartphones and smartwatches. However, in the past few years, the company faced financial challenges due to increased competition, rising production cost, and change in consumer preference. Because there are a lot of other companies in the electronic companies, the electronic manufacturing companies. So, how this company, if this is the case, if you are an entrepreneur and you want to have you want to work on this area, you want to choose this particular industry, electronic industry, and if you are having this problem, then how you will face this challenge, how you're going to increase, how you're going to face the competition, how you're going to cut down your production costs, what areas you need to focus on so that you can increase your profitability or improve your profitability or be at an optimum level. So these are the steps which I thought of which an entrepreneur can take to improve its profitability and balance sheet position. First is the product diversification. So reduce the dependence. Product diversification means you're providing a different types of products. So reduce the dependence on single product line. So what does XYZ Electronic can do? They can diversify its product portfolio. They conducted market research, identify the emerging trends in consumer electronic industry, and based on that, they can launch new products like wearable fitness trackers, wireless earbuds. So by diversifying their product, they can cater to the broader customer base and also capitalize on new market opportunity. Another area is cost optimization. Cost optimization means keeping the cost at an optimum level. So to address the issue, rising production costs, XYZ Electronics can initiate, they can streamline their supply chain, they can negotiate with the contract with the suppliers to secure better terms, and how they can cost optimization can also be done by keeping the manufacturing cost at a optimum level, maintaining the inventory at an optimum level. How inventory can be maintained at an optimum level? Various methods are used. POQ methods are used where not stocking too much of, not keeping so much of stock, ordering when it is needed, so that neither the production suffers nor your supply suffers. So by keeping the inventory at the optimum level, by keeping a check on the various items of production cost, your cash, your like your variable costs, your labor cost, you can achieve a optimum level of cost, and you can maintain you can have a optimum production cost so that your revenue do not get affected. Next, another area where they can work upon is marketing and branding. Like Havels had done, they have used the popular celebrity endorsement. Similarly, XYZ Electronic can also recognize the importance of marketing and branding in driving the sales. They can invest in the target marketing campaign. So they can, through that, they can create a brand awareness. They can go through TV shows where they can attract, where they can do the marketing of their products to increase the awareness of about their product, and can engage the customers. So by highlighting their USPs and benefits of their products, they can boost their sales and improve the customer loyalty. Another is your debt restructuring. The companies can accumulate a substantial amount of debts over a period of time, but it is going to put a lot of pressure on its cash flows, because if you're not able to manage your debts, it means that some or the other way your credibility is getting affected. So this electronic company XYZ should work on that, how they should keep a check on their debts. They should make the payment of like if the customers are not making the payment, or if the debtors are not making the payment on time, then they can take the service of factors who on behalf of the company can collect the dues. and because obviously when you get the money, then only you can give the money. Okay, एक हाथ लेंगे तभी दूसरे हाथ लेंगे. तो डेट रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग तभी हो सकती है जब आप आसानी से पैसे कलेक्ट कर रहे, टाइम पे पैसे कलेक्ट कर ले कस्टमर से अपने फ्रॉम योर डेटर्स, यू कैन कलेक्ट द मनी ऑन टाइम, देन ओनली यू विल बी एबल टू पे ऑन टाइम. Because unless you are able to pay on time, you will not be able to maintain your credibility position. Another is working capital management. So efficient management of the working capital is very crucial for companies' health. Obviously, working capital means the day-to-day working of the organization, the money that is needed. So that's why electronics can implement the better inventory management practices or avoiding the overstocking, as I was discussing, minimizing the carrying cost, streamlining the accounting receivables, payable process, as well as the payable process to accelerate the cash collection. That's what I was talking about, that they can take the service of factors who can collect the money from them, from debtors, and make the payment on time and get the discount from their creditors. So what is the result of employing all these strategies? Obviously, it is going to increase the revenue of the company, because by the product diversification, effective marketing efforts, they can boost their sales and can capture a new customers, new set of customers. They can capture a new market and it can increase the revenue. It improves, obviously, it is going to be cost optimization, and increase revenue is going to improve the profitability of the company, and gross profit margin and net profit margin is also going to increase if you are keeping your cost at an optimum level. So obviously your profitability position is going to improve. Next, if you are keeping a check on your debts, that by reducing the interest expenses and managing your debts effectively, then you will be able to maintain the credibility position. It will help you to get the funds from the external sources. And obviously, it is going to enhance the financial stability, because the company's healthier balance sheet, improved profitability can only be done by all these things, by cost optimization, product diversification, debt restructuring, because it provides the financial stability, and so that the company can sustain for a longer period of time. So in conclusion, I would like to say that XYZ Electronics successfully improved its profitability and balance sheet through the strategic initiative which they have taken by effective cost management, product diversification, and prudent financial decisions. So at the last, I'd like to conclude that we should always remember that profitability is not just about making money. It is about earning, ensuring that your business is sustainable and is able to weather the economics, we can say ups and downs. And by understanding the balance sheet, entrepreneurs can gain a clear picture of their company's financial health, and they can make decisions for the futures accordingly. Yes, not taking much of your time, just when I was preparing for my slides, I just came across these 7 habits of highly effective people, which is given by Kavi, Mr. Kavi, American educator, author, and a businessman. He very well said that these 7 habits should always be with you if you want to succeed as an entrepreneur and as a businessman, that we should always be proactive. That we all should always be ready to take an initiative in life by deciding that whatever our decisions are, and primarily determining the factors of effectiveness in the life. So we should be ready to take the action. We should be proactive. We should be ready to take the initiative. That yes, I'll take the initiative. I'll do this if I want to do. Begin with the end in mind. Obviously, if you do not begin with the end in mind, that whatever is your end, you want only profitability, you want to achieve break even, you want to have a longer growth, then with that end in mind, you should begin whatever you want to do in your life. Then put first thing first. We should always prioritize. because prioritizing is very important. Like businessmen also prioritize that first they need to achieve break even, then they need to achieve, yes, I have achieved the break even, then I need to go for profitability, then I need to go for sustainable growth. Think win-win. So genuinely strive for win-win means not only win for yourself. We should take into consideration everybody who is doing the business with you, your employees, your shareholders. So we should win-win for everyone. A mutual benefit solution we should always think of, or an entrepreneur should think of. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Is first we should understand what we want to do. Then only we can make others understand, because unless we understand our vision, our mission, then we cannot make others to understand our perspective. Synergize means we cannot work alone. A businessman cannot work alone. 2 + 2 5 in business. So we need to work with in collaboration with the employees, with shareholders, with whosoever is giving knowledge, whosoever is giving the money to the business. We need to synergize, and we need to keep everyone in loop while taking the decision. And last is sharpen the saw. Means we should be ready with all the things necessary to start the business, to balance and renew our resources, energy, if you want to sustain for a longer period of time. Thank you. This is all from my side. Gaurav sir. Sir, are you there?
Yes, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful talk. I think this talk will sufficiently enlighten the participant related to the topic. So if the participant have any query related to the profitability calculation as well as the preparation of balance sheet, they can unmute themselves and ask the query to our eminent speaker. Because this portion is very important to start your startup, to maintain your account, for the startup success also. If all are invited to please be interactive. If you have any query, you can ask. No query, I think. Anyone? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Hello.
okay.
Sir. So we do not have a query as such, because it is like new concepts for us. So we are trying to grasp everything.
Also, na?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is necessary.
So it is like good session. So we are trying to make notes and grasp everything. So to understand everything,
Yes,
as such, no queries right now.
You can also go with this the recorded video, because this session is also streamed live. And just subscribe the channel of IIC. You will get
Already
a lecture. You can get the video from that, and you can learn more and more. You can repeat the things also. That's why we have did the recording, because these all things are new for the participant, I think. So if you want really interested to start the startup, you should have the knowledge of balance sheet, how to calculate the profitability, cash flow, and all the accounting purpose. So this is necessary, because if you do not know, then you cannot manage your company. The company will not sustain. So for the sustaining of the company, you should know this all the technology.
That's why, sir, I try to relate it with the entrepreneurs, that from the entrepreneurial perspective, how they need to study profitability, what is profitability, what is balance sheet, what are the key areas we need to work upon. I've tried my best, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Very nice session.
Thank
Very
you.
informative.
Thank you.
So, on behalf of organizing committee, kindly accept the e-memento, digital
Thank you.
memento, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for having me here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining our endeavor and sharing your vision. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
So, dear participant, thank you so much for joining this session. And the day is now, the session has been ended. And on tomorrow, that is day 14th of this TEDP, on 20th of July 2023, we will also have the last session for the business plan preparation. So module 5 was a very long module in this entrepreneurship development program. Tomorrow we have two speakers, that is Dr. Shankar Mukherjee sir, who will make you learn about the marketing management, product promotion, sales and advertisement, how to conduct the, how to do the advertisement, how to do your product promotion. So he is the professor of marketing management. So he will let you know about the all key point for the marketing management. And Mr. Praveen Kapoor is an renowned speaker. He is the partner and co-founder of BBoss Technology. He will deliver the session on business model canvas preparation. So you will learn about how to prepare the business model canvas. I am very delighted to let you know that we have conducted one session on business model canvas preparation at our university in physical mode, and our biotechnology as well as the student from the microbiology have learned this technique, and they have included the BMC in their presentation and also received the best feature award. And Vineet has received the best feature from the Ministry of Education. So this is very valuable things, how to prepare the business model canvas. So these two lectures will be conducted on tomorrow. So you all are requested to kindly join the session. Tomorrow I will circulate the feedback form also for today as well as for the tomorrow session. So thank you once again. Thank you so much. If you have any query, you can